So, picture this. Our heroes in the ultimate showdown with the Demon Queen. They're all geared up, charging at each other, and boom, the place is a total mess. What's keeping our MC going? His fallen squad, who sacrificed themselves to end this chaos. He throws a killer punch, but the Queen's got moves, dodging and striking back. Even a tiny bit of her power is enough to wreck the place, like seriously. But our hero's not done yet, dodging like a pro and landing a solid hit on her. She's ticked off now, and bam, she stabs him right in the chest. But he's not backing down, grabs her neck, and goes for the final blow. Their powers clash, and there's this massive flash of light. When it clears, only the Queen standing, and our hero's arm is just chilling on the ground. She's all smug, thinking she's won, but surprise, he's back, piercing her chest. He wins, but he's super drained and just collapses on the spot. And then, bam, we're in Seoul, Korea, with a kid yelling at our hero. The kid's like, "Stop zoning out, or we're toast." And there are monster bodies everywhere. Classic tale, right? Monsters show up, hunters rise, but our guy? Nah. He's a collector, not even awakened. And to top it off, he works for this boss whose only talent is yelling, calling everyone useless. Next morning, our MC's out for a jog, keeping up his past life habits. No hunter powers, but he's still training with a twig, pretending it's a sword, and he's got skills. But then, snap, the twig breaks on a rock and his buddy shows up, asking what's up. His friend's like, "Dude, stop training in public or you'll end up as a meme." Then he asks if our hero wants to be a hunter. Kinda obvious, right? Hunters have it all, and even he wants to be one, make bank, and protect his peeps. As they head home, he's hoping tomorrow's dungeon isn't too wild. But spoiler, it's gonna be nuts. Everyone's whining cause it's a rank C dungeon, and most are just rank D. But the boss is like, "Zip it, you're getting paid, so no complaints." Our hero's just sighing in the corner, thinking this guy's a money-obsessed fool. But when someone talks smack, the old man's ready to throw hands. Then our MC's friend jumps in, saying he's in, no matter what. This pumps everyone up, and they're all like, "Yeah, we're in too." The old man's just rolling his eyes, calling them idiots, and tells them to gear up. Next day, they're at the portal, and the boss is barking orders. First, the tanks go in, then the supports. Crossing the portal, our hero feels like he's walking into his doom. Even the background hunters are feeling the weird vibes, but it's just a rank C, so they're chill. But our hero's got a bad feeling, and then, boom, there's this loud noise. The leader's all ready with his sword, and suddenly, giant ticks are charging at them. Everyone's freaking out because there's a ton of them, but the captain's like, "They're just bugs," and squashes one. This gets everyone hyped, and they start fighting the giant bugs, while the supports hang back. Problem is, there's just too many, so a shooter fires a flaming arrow, blowing them up. But it's not over. A mid-level boss shows up, ready to rumble. The mages, who've been charging up, unleash their magic, causing explosions everywhere. When the smoke clears, it looks like they've nailed it. The leader's like, "Loot that thing for cash." But when someone tries, surprise, it was playing dead. He gets hit with acid, and poof, he's melted. The extras are just standing there, cause even the fumes from this acid are toxic, and the main dude's like, "Why didn't they check if the monster was toast before moving on?" The captain's yelling, calling everyone useless, and decides to charge at the creature solo. And even though he's a total jerk, the dude's got mad strength, taking down the monster with one slick move. But plot twist, that was just a mid-level boss, and now the real boss shows up, ready to wipe everyone out. As it charges at the squad, the captain's all, "Get in formation and use the antidote, cause this creature's feathers are trippy." But even though the feathers are falling like slow-mo, everyone's zonked out and forgets the antidote, getting all mesmerized by the feathers. Everyone's losing it, going bonkers, while the captain's freaking out, realizing this ain't no C-rank dungeon. A bit further back, Shu's thinking the rear should bail before the seven-winged vulture makes things even crazier. Then our dude turns to his buddy, saying they should round up the scavengers and bounce. Against all logic, Ren's like, "Why leave?" Which ticks Shu off, cause duh, it's obvious. But the scavengers all, "No way we're leaving a place loaded with loot," and the main guy realizes his buddy's lost it. Ren points at the gear scattered around, saying it's all worth cash. Even a hunter's sword, thanks to the poison, is worth like 200 million. There's gotta be more valuable stuff here. So Sho grabs his buddy, trying to snap him back to reality, but it's too late. Ren's gone full Scrooge McDuck. The main dude lets go of the scavenger cause the guy's squirming like crazy, but he manages to snag his shirt sleeve, keeping his buddy from bolting. The adventurer's ticked and goes after our guy. Shu hits the ground, and Ren's on top, saying if he wants to bail, he should do it solo. The main dude's hands are gripping the blade of his buddy's wild sword, but Ren keeps pushing the weapon toward him, mad cause Shu's stopping him from becoming the next Elon Musk. In his wild rant, Ren spills some truth, saying he needs cash for his sister. The scavenger's little sis is sick, and he's dead set on curing her no matter what. Ren's tears spill out, his frustrations pouring from his heart. He can't get why he can't be a hunter, or why his sis has to suffer. But venting chills him out a bit, and he admits all he wants is to live happily with his fam. Then Shu gets what his buddy's been through, the pain behind Ren's kind and upbeat front. The main dude decides to let go of the sword's blade, and right then, the weapon sinks into the ground. The blade stabs the ground beneath him, but all Shu does is comfort his buddy, who's shaking with fear, using the sword for support. The main dude holds his buddy's hands, and tells him if he leaves now, he can see his little sis. Ren snaps out of Raymara's grip and cries, realizing what he just did, but Sho tells him to breathe, saying it's all good now. Then Ren comes to his senses and agrees they should bounce. The main dude's stoked and pushes him on, but the scavenger's eyes get all troubled again, and Sho's thinking the dude's still tripping. When the main guy tries to ask his buddy something, Ren leaps past him and takes a defensive stance. Shu turns to see what's up, but all he sees is the scavenger getting hit. Then the warrior's body starts to wobble. Slowly, the light fades from Ren's eyes. The main dude catches his buddy before he hits the ground, but by now, Ren knows he's running out of time. In his last words, he says he's glad Sho's okay. Our guy watches another important person leave, but a wicked laugh snaps him back to reality. The guild leaders fall into Raymara and is totally out of control, asking Shu if their show is over. A feather on Goemon's armor confirms our dude's suspicion. The scene makes the main guy lose it completely. He starts remembering his past life, how Elena got hit just like Ren. The sacrifice woke something epic inside the boy, like he was both Shu and Arden at once. Staring at Ren's lifeless body, he thinks about how he thought his buddy was just dreaming big when he talked about having something to protect. And he wasn't sure if his friend was serious or just chatting for fun. But Sho once had something to protect too, so he should totally get it better than anyone. The boy's surrounded by weapons scattered everywhere. Right then, Sho thinks about how Ren died to save him. So our scavenger decides he can't let his buddy's death be pointless and grabs 2 swords from the ground. And when he looks at Goemon all serious, the captain finds it kinda adorable. The boy still needs to test a few things, but who cares about that now? Goemon laughs in his face, teasing that using 2 swords is straight out of a video game. Sho just tunes out the captain's words, because right now, all that matters is taking down the C-rank hunter named Goemon. In the end, after Raymara showed up, the mission was a total flop. The squad fell apart and all the hunters got wiped out. Goemon went into denial and didn't notice the purple feather land on his armor. Then, the dude who was already a bit off his rocker started raging against the squad that came with him. So, since it's his mess and he blames whoever he wants, he decided to blame the poor scavengers. In his crazy rant, Goemon thinks about how the scavengers wrecked the team, and decides everyone in the back are bugs that shouldn't even be alive. Following the voices in his head, the jerk starts attacking totally unarmed people. The captain leaves a trail of bodies behind him. As if that wasn't enough, Goemon did all this with a grin on his face, until he spots something interesting out of the corner of his eye. The back of one of the bugs he hates the most, Shukiratani. Finally, the boss gets a shot to end that pesky slacker. Goemon charges at the boy like he's racing to be first in line at the canteen. Even though it's a sneak attack, the captain makes sure to use the sword's blade instead of the tip. What he didn't expect was Ren, the scavenger unit leader, stepping in and taking the hit for Sho, but the unfortunate one found it hilarious and started laughing like a maniac in the cave. However, the fun stopped when Goemon realized that, even about to die, Ren wasn't scared of him. Maybe the rest escaped, or maybe they all bit the dust, because now there were only 2 people in the dungeon, Shu and the backstabbing captain. The clueless one asks why he's holding the swords, if the kid's crazy enough to face him. By the way, the captain's a skilled hunter, while the kid was just any kid. While Goemon was giving his villain speech, Shu literally wasn't even there anymore. Then the backstabbing captain got confused. Where's the dude? He was here just now, a second ago. Like he teleported, Sho pops up behind the opponent, but the captain manages to find his shield, which wasn't even nearby, and just barely blocks the hit. Goemon is understandably ticked off. It's super rude to interrupt a villain's final speech. The captain drops the shield to better control the longsword and attacks, but only slices air and dirt. Even without awakening, Sho's got a trained body and tons of battle experience, but it's wild how even after losing his mind there was no doubt the captain was a hunter. That power was unreal. Apparently awakening has no link to nature, but the protagonist still wants to know how far his opponent got with just regular training. There's still the issue of a massive monster a few meters away. Luckily, Raymar is having a blast watching the human fight, letting Sho focus totally on the battle against the captain. Again, the guy manages to grab the shield in time to block another move from the protagonist. Then both dive into battle. The only sounds in the dungeon are metal clashing. Goemon grazes the boy, leaving a scratch just below one of his eyes. Then the man tries a diagonal strike, but Sho dodges it. The protagonist uses his leg strength to gain momentum, putting a good 4 or 5 meters between him and the opponent. This fight is anything but easy. Even though Sho's brain knows what to do, his body can't keep up. So this young dude gets sidetracked for a sec, thinking he only needs like 1% of his old life's strength, but Goemon snaps him back to reality. The trader captain's mind is blown, like, how's this scavenger moving like that? And Shu's just cracking up at the whole situation. The captain totally loses it when he realizes the young dude can fight back, so our boy decides to mess with him a bit more, and asks if he needs a teacher to learn how to breathe. Gomon takes the bait, gets super mad, and charges at Sho with an attack. But, again, he just hits the ground. Seriously, how are they not tripping in this cave with all these pits? Soon, energy blasts are flying at the protagonist, and instead of running, Sho charges right through the gaps in the attack, but the energy net grazes him, cutting the sides of the young dude's body. Even hurt and at a disadvantage, Sho keeps dodging those power blasts, until he finally spots an opening to strike back, and this time, Gomon can't raise his shield in time, taking a nice slice to the jugular. This opening is all the protagonist needs. Now Shu's got an easier time going on the offensive. The protagonist breaks the guy's armor at the shoulder and stomach. There are too many attacks for Gomon to block them all, so the captain backs off to put some distance between him and the boy. Gomon's on the edge of losing it. None of this makes any sense. Him, a hunter, getting cornered by a scavenger. Then he lets out a roar so big, his forehead grows 2 centimeters. Realizing he can't beat Sho even with his advantages, Gomon activates like 4 buffs, and charges with his sword tip, energy just pouring out of him. But the protagonist just stands there like a post while the guy charges full force. Now the captain's got all his abilities on, he's too fast for Sho to see, so the boy closes his eyes and feels the mana flow. The protagonist gains momentum with his foot, and charges at the guy with his eyes shut. The path made by the hunter's energy is totally visible. The dirty blade zooms in at high speed, but Sho dodges like he's sleepwalking, firmly gripping the sword in his right hand, and swings the blade towards the energy source, eyes closed, all natural, breaking the captain's sword at the base. Good thing our boy's eyes were shut, cause those metal shards flying at his face, imagine if they hit his eye. Realizing the energy's gone, Sho opens his eyes again. Surprise, surprise, the sword wasn't the only thing cut and flying. Gomon hits the ground in despair. The protagonist tore the Balenciaga pants he just bought. Then the protagonist stops in front of the fallen dude. And the captain, on the ground, disarmed, with just one leg, has the nerve to yell at the young man, asking if he thinks there'll be no consequences. Calm and chill, Shu asks if the captain's gonna claim he conveniently got his sanity back just before dying. Just a few meters from Ren's body, the boy tells Gomon that, bewitched or not, he deserves to die. Then, instead of making sense, the captain starts bragging about being a hunter and blah blah blah. Our boy just drops the Omewa Mushindiru on him, and that's when the captain really loses his head, which goes flying like a soccer ball, but somehow lands right at the protagonist's feet. Shu just sighs at the whole mess. It was the biggest headache. It had been ages since the young dude saw so many lifeless people in one spot, cause he spent hundreds of years alone in his past life. But now it was time for the boy to shine. Literally, a blue aura like the sky glows from his whole body. At first, he doesn't get the blue aura thing, seems like magic. Sho wonders if it's cause he remembered his past life, but then he gets it. Our boy finally awakened. Only things start to get a bit wild. The famous system window pops up for the protagonist, casually letting the young dude know he leveled up. With a bunch of pop-ups showing up, Sho starts wondering if he really awakened or just went nuts. And what the heck is this status window? He's got 25 points now, and a skill called Executioner. A little note at the bottom explains the skill lets him absorb the karma of the heretics he defeats. He's just standing there, totally clueless, cause today's powers are way too high-tech for him. Then Shu remembers how Ren freaked out after getting smacked by Reymara's feather, and finds it kind of funny that he, who didn't even want powers, got them, while the one who really wanted them got nada. But hey, there's still a little hiccup in the dungeon. Reymara got bored since the fight ended and started squawking again, and flies around shedding feathers. Seriously, how does this 7 Beyond vulture still have feathers left? Shu gets ticked off cause the gothic cockatiel is way too loud, so he decides to try something and asks the big guy upstairs for a point in magic. The dude's magic, which was a big fat 0 before, went up by 1 point, complete with a notification, ding. It might have been just one measly point, but in magic terms, the jump from 0 to 1 is like going from earth to sky. Then Sho tells the rock chicken that now, he's not the same, and calls Reymara for a one-on-one. Now it's time to figure out how mana works in this wild world. Spend 1 point in mana, still got 23 left. When Sho feels the evolution kick in, he thinks about how people who awaken get all hyped with their tiny power. They start thinking they're all that and end up dying like a bot. While he's thinking, the creature comes charging. The main dude starts tapping into the mana in his body with some serious finesse, and it's like a shampoo ad. Then he drops one of the swords and cranks up the mana flow. Then he sidesteps and channels all the energy he's built up into his right hand. All this to chuck the sword at the creature, but it works cause the sword flies like a missile, piercing through the side of the infamous Reymara's head. The creature is totally stunned, almost having a heart attack, and the sword made a crater in the wall. If anyone wants it back, they'll need to call King Arthur. The The gothic cockatiel, which was already noisy, now sounds like a samba school, but Sho knows how to make the creature zip it. Then the main dude focuses his energy on his legs and jumps, but jumps so high he overshoots the creature, and with a sword he pulled from who knows where, he tells the creature that life can end in a blink. Sho starts prepping the chicken by slicing its wing. The toothed bird screams again and freaks out. Our young dude takes a step on the wall and grabs onto a rock to watch from the front row as the 7 Beyond vulture nosedives. The main guy figures he'll only need to gather mana one more time. He powers up the hand holding the rock. Apparently the creature floats with mind power, and the wings are just for show, cause it lost one and keeps flying. Then, Sho charges his power to the max all over his body, and jumps like a rocket, leaving a hole in the wall where he was. In a flash, the young dude reaches the boss. Shu dives with the sword and slices Raymara in half, top to bottom. Then he lands on the ground super cool, and the rock chicken crashes down, making a rad scene in the background. Then, the main dude finally stops to catch his breath. He looks left and sees only knocked out people, and to the right, a totally wrecked bird. Then, he drops like a sack of potatoes. Then, Sho starts dreaming about his past life. The Demon Queen sent a monster army to chow down on the planet he lived on, Aslan. The 8 races in Aslan picked a rep, so they could team up against the invaders. Even though the enemies were crazy strong, the folks kept fighting day after day, until finally, they won the war. But in the middle of the peace party, the queen hits Sho up telepathically, who was still Arden. The dude turns, shocked, to face the creature he thought was toast. Then, he grabs Elena by the shoulders, to tell her to scram. But the fairy rep was just another mirror of the queen, who spills to Arden that all the stars of paradise have scattered and there's nowhere left to run. The queen bounces, warning the warrior that everything coming is his fault, and the scars of his sins will haunt him even in the next life. Shu wakes up with a big jolt, and he spends a few seconds panting, lying in the hospital bed. Then, he sits up in bed to make sure he was dreaming. He realizes he's not alone when someone comments that the young dude has finally woken up. Sitting on a small sofa, there's a bull-headed guy calmly sipping his coffee. The dude drops the coffee on the saucer and tells Kiritani he's been out cold for 3 days. Then our guy's all, "Hey, you haven't even told me your name yet." But the bowl-cut dude's like, "Chill, don't freak out," and hands over his business card. Before grabbing it, Sho's all, "What happened to everyone else on the mission?" The dude places the card on Sho's bed and says it's cool he's worried about the team, even though he's just a scavenger. Then he drops the bomb. The whole team got wiped out, and by the time the medics showed up, it was too late. Sho's the lone survivor. Shu's like, "What about Igawa Ren?" And bowl-cut dude's like, "Funerals happened while you were snoozing." Then switches to why he's there. The dude says the Raymar Labyrinth's difficulty level shot up and wants Shu's take on it. Cause, you know, a team just bumped to rank D was bound to struggle, but Captain Gomon had some bad juju. Shu's like, "No clue, what's up with the captain?" And the dude's like, "Oh, you didn't know? Gomon kept it hush-hush." Then he spills that Captain Gomon dragged a bunch of noobs on the mission cause he was drowning in debt at the Little Tiger, and Shu's fuming. Given the scoop, bowl-cut dude figures the mission's difficulty change makes sense. Then he's like, "We're looking into it. Hit me up if you remember anything." Shu's just woken up, but he's already over it. Finding out he lost a buddy for some dumb reason, and then waking up, what a wild ride. He grabs the remote, probably to zone out, and flips on the TV to a news channel with a segment called "I Want to Be a Hunter." Today's guest is Japan's top hunter, rank SS, vice pres of the Curse Guild, and she's called the Judgment of the God Odin. Then the reporter's like, "Welcome Sora Aoki, a young woman with long black hair and a serious vibe." The girl's a rare case, getting 4 abilities at once when she woke up. Sho spots the girl on TV, more famous than most celebs. Then he checks the system to peep the executioner's ability again. The text says it's about taking out heretics, and Shu figures it means bad guys in general. Maybe he woke up by taking down Gomon. But then he's like, what makes someone bad in the system's eyes? Shu tries Googling the ability, but it's like it doesn't even exist. Maybe it's not rare, just his own exclusive power. More importantly, he finds out his rank is E negative, bottom of the barrel. For some reason, he remembers the dream with the Demon Queen. He recalls the Queen's last words about his next life, and he starts thinking this whole thing's getting kinda interesting. Then some time skips and we're at the reception. The dude checks out and the receptionist's like, "Take care." Then he strolls to the hospital exit, feeling kinda pumped. Not long ago, everything felt pointless, and hunters seem clueless about using their powers or handling mana right. But he, even though he's weak, can max out his potential. Shu saw no point in his second life. The dude stops in front of a specific portal and heads in solo. But now, totally set on wrecking that dungeon. Cause, unlike before, now he can stop the tragedy from happening again on another world. And this time, it's gotta work. The first step's already locked in. Then Shu dives into a horde of totally bonkers monsters to train and hit his goal of reaching the top. We zoom back to the swanky hospital with a terrace and a little balcony. People are strolling through the rehab wing. A nurse with perfect hair tells a patient the treatment's done and to be careful heading out. The woman mentions how lucky it was to find a cube of matter for the treatment, but the patient just asks if she can leave solo. The nurse looks all sympathetic and asks if the girl's parents aren't around, and the girl nods. The girl's name's Eri Igawa, and the staff member starts to spill the tea about her brother, but another nurse swoops in, saying she'll take it from here. The second nurse is super relieved she made it just in time to stop Kimura-san from dropping the bomb on the girl who just woke up. The young girl sits on the bed and thanks them for being so chill. Then the woman tries to gently break the news to Eri about her brother, but Eri cuts off Nurse Mizuhara, asking what went down. Then Eri turns to the nurse and says she wants a sweet treat. What messed with Ren's little sis's health was the rise of mana energy, and since it's been 50 years since portals started popping up everywhere, magical vibes are all over the place. This led to a new disease that slowly zaps the life out of people with mana issues, and it's still got no cure. Even in the hospital, all they can do is chill the symptoms with matter cubes. Eri thinks about what the first nurse said, about how lucky it was to snag a cube for her treatment. But the girl seems a bit sus about the whole lucky thing. On TV, they're chatting about last week's feature with SS Hunter Sora Aoki. Sora shows off her electric energy skills, and then she pulls all that energy into her hand and absorbs it back, turning the mana into a giant spear that looks more like a drill. Eri's kinda shook watching the power show. Out of nowhere, Ronaldo Fenomeno's kid starts yelling behind her. The kid's super hyped about Sora's lightning and swears if he ever awakens, he's joining the Curse Guild. Then the boy asks Eri if she thinks the SS Hunter's epic too. Noticing the boy's hype, the girl just smiles, and then nods, not wanting to rain on his parade. A woman shows up and drags the boy back to his spot. A Coke drops out of a soda machine. Eri thinks about how Sora Aoki's her age but already the top hunter in the country, while her body couldn't even handle the portal madness. The girl feels bad for being a burden on her brother since their parents died in a flood fissure. Finally, she lets herself miss Ren. Eri cries, wishing she could see her brother again. Someone clinks their Coke with hers, warning that crying here will attract unwanted attention. The girl looks up to see who's interrupting her emo moment, and it's Nurse Mizuhara, smiling and sipping a soda too. Then the woman talks about how she has to smile even if life sucks because she has to be happy for her late brother, because the girl's brother wouldn't want to see her like this, and he probably left a gift for her somewhere. Eri thanks the nurse for being so thoughtful, but then, out of nowhere, things get wild. Mizuhara looks out the window like she's seeing a meteor fall. In the sky, something moon-like shines with a purple glow. It makes zero sense for the moon to be so big and bright in daylight. Then they hear people yelling to run for it. The nurse is clueless and Eri's even more lost, but the panicked folks ask why they're not booking it yet. Everyone's gotta hit the shelter ASAP because the supposed moon in daylight is a flood fissure, and soon an army of monsters will crash the party. The confused nurse stands there, saying there are no monsters, and the frantic guy says the association just hit him up. Then, even with the hospital chaos, the sound of something breaking grabs Mizuhara's attention. She looks where Eri was. A fist the size of a washing machine smashes through the hospital window right behind the girl. When the giant hand pulls back, they both look where it came from, and they see a giant beefy flesh golem. Mizuhara yells at the girl to run for her life, but Eri's legs are shaking and won't listen to her brain. The monster leans down to check out the two oddballs standing there. Then the nurse grabs the girl by the torso. Eri's confused, but the woman explains they need to get to the hospital reception. The Hunters Association's already on it, and the hunters will be here soon. Mizuhara says she'll try to stall for the girl to escape, but Eri pushes her away. The girl can't handle another person sacrificing themselves for her. The monster's slap on the ground splits them up even more. The nurse freaks out, and some dude grabs her, saying they gotta bounce cause the girl's a goner. And the cross-eyed monster's hand reaches for Eri. Then the girl starts thinking she's about to peace out, wondering if having powers would change anything, but behind her, the hero zooms in like a rocket. Eri hears something shatter, but she's not feeling any pain. Then the tall guy says she's just like her bro, not thinking about the peeps she'll leave behind. The girl asks who this dude even is, but instead of answering, he just says he knows her, and that he's here for her brother. Then the guy finally spills his name and tells the girl her brother Ren did something epic for him. The girl gets all emotional, remembering her bro's smiling face. Then she realizes she found the gift her brother left for her, which the nurse mentioned. Meanwhile, in the Dortalimia Desert, an A-rank dungeon, the full moon lights up the sandy sea, and Sora Aoki charges forward with her cavalry lance. Huge desert worms, ugly as heck, close in on the hunter, but the girl just leaps onto the creature and smacks it on the head so hard it bends. Then Sora uses the bent creature to spring onto the next gnarly worm. but the worm called a buddy to join the brawl. However, for the hunter, it's no biggie. More monsters mean more XP, and she smacks worm number 2 with a hammer blow. While Sora fights like a beast, some folks gossip about a lawyer who hit her up earlier, and another person corrects them, saying nah, it was an A-rank hunter who contacted her. The lawyer's just his fam. The gossipers Riku Kaido and Umiabara can't believe the nerve of the guy who tried to hit on Sora, and she snapped his phone in half without even flinching. Chillin' comfortably, the hunters chat about how Sora's got a fan army. After all, look at her go, wrecking everything without breaking a sweat. Sora Aoki is the only SS rank hunter in all of Japan. After smashing about 7 worms, Sora scans the area, and there are 5 more creatures heading her way, which she thinks is pretty dope. Super dope. She even cracks a little smile. Sora's usually savage, but today she's all about the grind, and the other 2 just watch the sand fly and the worms drop. But then the sand starts shaking weirdly, stronger than usual. A monster bigger than a desert worm is coming. And it's Dordalimia herself, wanting to know who's messing up her crib. Then Riku suggests it's time for him and Umi to jump in, but Sora warns through the earpiece that it's cool, she'll handle the boss. And they're chill with it, even better not having to lift a finger, especially since the girl's already battling the beast anyway. Sora fights against Dordalimia like it's just another day, and it kinda is. Riku speaks into the mic for the princess to have fun. Umi reminds him she's told him to quit calling her that. Meanwhile, Sora dives into the demon's mouth. A web of lightning lights up the sky, and they crash down together in a single electric zap, piercing the monster from top to bottom. Dordalimia dives into the sand to hide from the wild girl with the lance, but she chases it like the monster owes her money, charges the lance tip with another storm of energy, and slams it into the ground, zapping the sand. Sora says running's pointless and grips the lance tighter, frying every grain of sand and everything underneath in a massive circle. The crew's even thankful for the gutsy A-rank guy earlier, cause now Sora's venting her rage on the monsters without holding back. It doesn't take long for a system window to pop up, signaling the dungeon mission's done. The squad calmly chats about their next move and doesn't even notice the weird nebula forming in the sky. A rift tears open right in the center of the forming shape, and from it, a yellow eye pops open high in the sky. An earthquake finally grabs Patati and Patata's attention to the bizarre scene. Sora looks around, hunting for the source of the anomaly. Umi comments that a fissure shouldn't just pop up, as they, meaning Sora, already beat the dungeon boss, and Riku tells her to look up. What's in the sky is actually the core of the Dordalimia desert. Sora raises her head and stares at the celestial body like it's just another Tuesday. Umi's all, yo, the core's gotta be deeper in the dungeon. But Riku's like, nah, changes just drop in. No, heads up, they just happen. The hunters got the rifle locked on the core's eye, dead center, and boom, the sniper's blasting energy like it's a cannon or something. The shot's zooming straight for the celestial big bro. But plot twist, it runs out of steam before it hits. Turns out, the eye's way out of the rifle's league, distance-wise. So Sora's like, yo, how far's the target? Riku's all, 12 kilometers, dude, we can't half send it. Time's ticking, and that thing's charging up like a phone at 1%. Sora's like, team, we gotta bounce, change spots. Cause soon, that energy bubble's gonna pop and it's gonna rain monsters. Riku's nodding, glancing back. A portal's ripped open like, reality's got a glitch, and they're out of time to chill. Then Sora's like, already hit up the guild, focus on the rescue, peeps. Riku's down but asks, what's the princess gonna do? Sora's chill with the nickname says, duh, gonna smash the moon. Meanwhile, a reporter's chatting with a catacomb sommelier who's all, fishers, they start in dungeons, duh. The dude's like, fishers are usually a rank up from their dungeon, and this party's at least rank A. And he's telling the TV crowd, that weird purple moon? Dungeon core, folks. Wild stuff. He wraps up with, VIP monsters, core's bodyguards, ain't here yet, while the hero peeks at the sky. Then Shu's like, Aerie, how's that mana allergy? She's chillin' against the wall, says she's good. Then she asks if the hero was the scavenger with her bro, and he's like, yup. Aerie's like, did he ever talk about me? She starts blaming herself for Ren, but Shu's like, nah, not your fault. He adds, if you can't shake it, use it to fuel your life. One day she'll get past it, but for now. Aerie's touched hearing she was her bro's number 1. She cries quietly, and Shu's back to window gazing. Then he's like, Aerie, we'll chat after I handle that demon moon. The city's trashed. What's not wrecked is on fire. Monsters are having a blast, scaling buildings, chasing folks. One even rocks an earring. The hero's cruising the streets with his basic sword, taking out monsters left and right. He's been at it for days, learning one thing. No point in leveling up anything but mana. Shu's strategizing while wrecking creatures, boosting strength and agility's cool for quick wins. But the max strength he could hit? Way less. He even asked another hunter to see how strength points stack up. To test it, he arm wrestled a hunter with 11 strength points, then he got it. As Shu's tearing through the monster party, he's like, gotta speed up. Then he uses a giant demon's punch to leap onto its shoulder, and the monsters left all, what just happened? Scaling a building to the Dordalemia desert moon, Sho dumps 29 skill points into mana. At the top, he leaps for the celestial body. The new mana flow? Pure awesome. Then he gears up to chuck the sword, which is why he sticks to generic ones, tossing them like they're nothing. He tries to max out the 30 mana points. Sho channels the energy into his throwing hand, glowing bright, and the sword rockets across the sky, aiming dead on for the cosmic big bro. His only worry? Did he throw it hard enough, hoping it hits the mark? As the blade zooms toward the core, our dude's in free fall, crossing fingers and hoping it works. The sword hits the spot, but the eyes all, meh, is that all you got? Sho crashes down, leaving a crater like a superhero landing. He knew this wasn't gonna cut it though. His level's not quite there yet, so time to switch it up. Then, boom. An explosion in the city grabs his attention, and who else but Sora Aoki SS making a dramatic entrance. The hunter fires up 3 epic abilities, mixes them up, whipping up a cyclone with a lightning storm, then hurls the hurricane right at the dungeon's core. The hit's spot on, causing some serious damage to the celestial body. Sora's internally doing a happy dance, but stays on high alert. But nope, not enough. The attack just made the crater bigger. Turns out, the eye's a core within a core. Coreception? Anyone? The seasoned hunter figures out the moon's not a core, but the guardian itself. And it's ticked off, firing back with a burst of dark energy with a red glow. Sora raises her mount lance just in time, blocks the core's energy with her own, like a boss. But the UFO's attack is mega strong, and she starts to buckle. Shu dashes to the showdown between Hunter and Moon, catches Sora before she hits the ground, a bit bummed about her skills. Then he tells her to focus up, lives her on the line. Sora's like, who is this random dude? He notices she's burning through mana like it's going out of style, so he puts his hands on her back, guiding her energy flow with his own mana. Obviously she's miffed he can just tweak her mana flow like that. Thinks this whole breeze is a waste of time. But then, boom, her energy's flowing right for the first time. Sora's confused at first, thought she was tapped out, but now's not the time to dwell. Then she yells to Sho that he's unique, and they're on the same team. Sho's like, let's finish this. Sora's all, duh, and charges up another lightning cyclone on her lance. But this time, the lightning's like, double XL. The magic's pressure is so intense it sets off a chain reaction, until it slams into the core of the Dordalemia desert. The hunter's wiped out after the attack, but she's like, nailed it. But Shu's got bad news, the thing's still kicking. She looks up, shocked. The moon's beat up, but the core's untouched. Then Shu asks if Sora's got one more attack in her. She drops to the ground, saying it's a no-go. She was already maxed out on the second hit, and tells Shu, as much as it sucks, they gotta wait for backup. But Sho's thinking maybe he can handle it. So he hops onto Sora Aoki's legendary lance, asks if, since she's the top hunter, there's enough juice to launch him to the core. Sora's like, you want me to throw you to the moon? And he's like, yup, no time to explain. She calls him a weirdo but goes for it. Launches Sho with all her strength, saying she doesn't care if it ends badly. It works, and he's flying like Superman. As he gets closer, he spots the core inside the moon by its glow. Remembers the attack he launched earlier. Thinks the sword had enough oomph, just needs to be closer. The sword Sho tossed 10 minutes ago conveniently falls toward him. He boosts his mana by 5 points before chucking the blade again. Now his attack's not just stronger, but way closer. Then, to make sure the sword seals the deal, he kicks it with a force that'd make any sports manhwa jealous, propelling the sword so hard, atmospheric pressure's a joke, and gravity's crying in the shower. The blade gathers energy from the air as it zooms forward, heading straight for the core, like a divine arrow. Then the sword smacks right in the middle, sliding into the hole that makes the core look like a giant eyeball, and pops out the other side of the sphere, ripping through the material like it's made of squishy mattress foam. Finally, the Guardian poofs away along with the core, closing the fissure. Sora, chilling on the tallest building on 5th Street, is totally mind-blown. Some random dude just flew to the moon and blew it up from the inside, and the girl watches him fall thinking, whoa, that was wild. The shattered moon bits light up the sky like epic fireworks, and Sho levels up like 17 times. Yup, counted every single one. Still falling, the dude's super hyped with the results. He even snagged a new skill. Then he remembers, oh snap, the ground's coming up fast, and flips like a cat to land on his feet. Sora's jaw drops as the guy lands on a wedding photo studio roof. The hunter's thinking, is he SS rank 2? The dude not only fixed her mana flow, but also smashed the dungeon core. Next day, everything's chill in the city. Sora Aoki's on TV again. Poor girl can't catch a break. And the reporter's all, thanks to her, everything's cool. But she spills it wasn't her, it was someone else. Then she looks at the camera, saying the dude vanished after the chaos, but she'd love to meet him again. Eri, watching the news on her tiny phone, already knows it's our guy who saved the day, but Shu's just worried about the girl's health. Inside, the hero's a bit peeved. Sora didn't need to put him on blast like that. After checking she's okay, the girl asks Shu if he's still a scavenger, and he nods, saying he just awakened. Then she wonders if he's gonna be a hunter, but he's unsure cause there's a test and all that jazz. Aries not having it. She insists he should totally go for it. The dude tries to say his level's low, but she cuts in, cheering him on. She adds, all bubbly, that she's sure Shu will be an awesome hunter. The hero's kinda touched by Aries' confidence, and decides to roll with it. After all, nothing beats having mad status. So it's settled, our guy's taking the hunter test. And boom, straight to the test scene, no time wasted. The crowd's buzzing at the Nadia Tropical Forest grounds, an F-rank dungeon. The hunter exam's being streamed by a podcast called Go Hunter Go. There's a dude with a selfie stick streaming the 588th test edition. He chats up a long-haired guy who looks like he kicks puppies for fun. This guy's Guyabuki, and he's super cocky cause he awakened with 3 skills, just one less than Sora Aoki. The streamer asks what spot he's aiming for, and Gu's all, why settle for less than first? Meanwhile, our guy's in the back, stressing over how much mana the puppy kicker's wasting just by existing. But then, our mana flow expert hears someone in the crowd announcing Sora Aoki's arrival. The hunter's there with an old dude to watch the hunter exam. But her vibe's totally different. She's all calm and collected, probably to keep her image squeaky clean. The fans see her and go nuts. Then the crowd surges towards Sora like a tidal wave. Our hero stays low-key in the back, figuring visitors aren't usually a thing at these exams. Shu's gotta stay under the radar to avoid the SS rank hunter, fingers crossed, Shu. Sora just sighs while her fans go wild, saying they want to join her guild. The one who sent her there is an old red-haired dude in fancy threads. When she asks why she's gotta do this, Junosuke Uhara, leader of the Curse Guild, reminds her about the rift that popped up from the dungeon she was in. He says people think the rift was just a PR stunt for the hunter, and Sora's like, that's ridiculous. But there's no dodging it. The association leader's gonna be there, and she needs to show up to squash the rumors. The old dude also tells her to scout for talent. A voice booms over the speakers that the exam's kicked off. The fans are hyped and start sprinting. Several drones zip over the crowd, capturing every epic moment like they're on a mission. The media's all over this exam. It's like the World Cup, but with more drama and less soccer. Journalists are scribbling away while the crowd's kicking up a storm through the rainforest. The goal? Survive 24 hours. Yep, some might not make it, but that's the game. Our hero's chilling on a branch, watching the chaos unfold below. Shu gets why it's a big deal, but honestly, he's kinda bored. Suddenly, a weird mana vibe sneaks up on him from behind. He spins around all, who's there? Vibes, trying to figure it out. Turns out, it's a mana enchantment, not super strong, but familiar from his past life. Kenzu Wakamatsu, the big boss of the Japanese hunters, wonders who'll snag first place. Sora bets on Guyabuki, the dude with 3 powers, but Kenzu's not buying it. Kenzu asks if Sora's got a different guess. She admits she wasn't around back then, so she asks who Kenzu's rooting for. Kenzu's got his eye on participant 241, who's been crushing it, and Sora checks the list. Surprise. Surprise. It's our boy, Sho Kiritani. Kenzu's hyping up Sho, but Sora's too busy freaking out about the Rift Slayer waking up. Meanwhile, Shu's just hopping from branch to branch, cool as a cucumber. He pauses when he hears some drama below. It's a bully trash-talking a guy from his high school, dragging his grandpa into it. The guy snaps, mana flaring up, and he's Shin Kashida, yelling at Go to back off. The bully's got his excuse to throw down, and he's got backup too. But Shu's not here for this nonsense, so he jumps in before things get ugly. The bully's all, who even are you? But Shu's not interested in beef. Shu's like, I'm outta here, grabs Shin, and bolts in a see ya suckers style. The bullies lose it and chase after them, but Shu's got moves. He kicks one henchman into another, and they go flying like plastic bottles. Shin's all, who are you, dude? Sho drops 3 words. Aslan, Idea, Overlord, and asks if Shin knows them. Shin dodges, but Shu's like, come on, I know your mana trick, the rational flame thing. Shin's shocked, asking how Sho knows his secret. Shu figures Shin's in the know and keeps the kidnapping going. They hide behind a rock and Shin spills that his grandpa taught him the mana trick. Shin's like, is that a problem? And Shu's like, big time. It's a clue linking his past life to this world, and Shu's intrigued. Shu's like, you'll be a great pawn, or helper, and Shin's not having it. They introduce themselves. Shu's a year older. Shu confirms Shin's grandpa taught him, and Shin's like, yep. Shu's puzzled, knowing the technique's creator. Then Shu, channeling his inner detective, asks if Shin's grandpa's got a unique name like Ruben or Robert, but Shin's like, nah, he's all Japanese. So, the main dude switches gears and asks what's up with him and the crew, and Shin spills that he's been beefing with Go since middle school. He's all bummed out, saying he's weaker and has fewer skills, so no one takes him seriously. Then the main dude gives him a once-over and asks if having loads of skills is really that big of a deal, and Shin's like, yeah, more skills mean a higher rank. Out of nowhere, bam, A sword move happens, too quick to catch. Sho slices the rock they're chilling on in half in a blink, and the kid next to him is totally shook. He explains he used just 1 mana point, no skills, and Shin's mind is blown. The kid starts thinking maybe skills aren't the whole deal. Then Shin asks the main dude to show him the ropes because he's done dealing with jerks like Gu Yabuki. Shu's down to help, but with one condition, then tells the kid to take a seat. Cut to Go, who's surprised Shin came back on his own, asking if he's got a death wish before the exam ends. The main dude tells his new sidekick to go for it, and says he won't step in because this fight's all his, and the apprentice tells him not to sweat it. The bully's a bit taken aback at first. The kid he just saw seems to have leveled up, but he lets his ego take over and underestimates the kid, thinking he can win with his eyes closed. Rookie mistake. In Sho's eyes, the battle's outcome is a no-brainer, and they're just killing time there. The showdown kicks off, and right away, Shin bluntly says the bully hasn't changed since middle school. Gu tells the kid to back off because the powers are his, and he'll use them however he wants. Then he slaps the ground, making a blue glow rise. Shin charges with his spear, telling the bully to at least not drag others into his lame fights. The blade of the young apprentice meets the bully's mana shield. Gu laughs, asking if the kid thought he'd just stand there and take it. Then he reveals that hitting his mana wall with physical attacks triggers a mana explosion. Shin grips the spear tight, but the heat's intense, like his hands are gonna melt. Then he remembers the day before when the main dude beat him up and said he tends to keep his distance, something he shouldn't do against Gao. If Shin wants to master the rational ability, he's gotta up his close combat game. Using mana isn't enough. He needs to learn to coat the spear with energy, then focus it all at the spear's tip. With the new lesson, Shin's skill levels up, and he bets everything on a strike, charging into the heat of the explosions. The bully's mana wall starts to crack, until it shatters under the spear's pressure, and it breaks into hundreds of tiny pieces. Go's stunned. It doesn't add up. Then Shin gets closer, and whacks the playboy in the gut with the spear handle. He flies back and rolls, but lands on his feet. Gu tries to pull it together, but his head's all messed up, and Shin's not missing the chance to take down the clueless dude, so he taps him on the back of the neck. Then the poor guy face plants, totally defeated. Even Shin can't believe he pulled it off. He took down Yabuki before the fool could use his other 2 skills. Then the kid turns to the main dude, all happy, saying he nailed it thanks to his help, and Sho's chilling on a log with Go's 2 sidekicks knocked out at his feet. Then Shin, already calling the main dude Big Bro, asks what to do with the guy's matter cubes, and the answer's obvious: split them 50-50. So our guy leaves the fight with a full bag, and the apprentice, who probably only got like 20%, grumbles about the unfairness. Then Shu reminds the kid he said he'd take half of everything as payment for the lessons, and if you think about the teachings, it's totally worth it. Then the main dude says the exam's almost over, and maybe they should hunt some monsters to kill time. Shin says that's out of his league, and he's all, only one dude could pull off a hunt in the last 12 minutes, and that's Sho himself. Our guy's like, no sweat, grabs the kid's number and says if he calls, he better sprint over, and oh, keep it on the down low. The apprentice nods, and they part ways. But before Sho can bounce through the portal, Shin gives a heartfelt thanks, and Shu just waves it off, snagging first place in Hunter exam number 588. On the flip side of the portal, our hero's already plotting to find more peeps like Shin to start his own guild, but he's gotta level up to rank C first. Rules are rules. A sketchy girl, thinking she's all incognito with her glasses and mask, rolls up. She stops in front of our guy, they lock eyes, and it's a silent showdown. Shu, already knowing who she is, turns and says he's not the dude she's after. She's like, chill, I haven't even said anything yet. Then he's all, so, Sora, what's up? She's got personal reasons to chat, but he bailed at the exam's end. Then she cranks up the suspicious vibes and invites him for a real talk. Kinda rolling with it, Shu compliments her jacket. Next thing, they're at the Hunter's Mall. Apparently, as a time fee, she's gifting him stuff, including a dope brown overcoat, a small bag, a belt, some shin guards, and like 50 stamina potions. Our dude's high maintenance, huh? Sora's unfazed and goes on a shopping spree. As expected, everything's top tier. Then Shu's like, you think gifts will change my mind? She's all, nah, don't sweat it. She's got more XP in dungeons, and knows Destiny's got the prepared's back. Plus, this cash splash is a thank you for the rift help, so Shu's like, cool, let's splurge. A sign catches his eye, and he asks if there are material shops too. Sora's like, duh, but specialists gotta handle the materials. Shu leaves this adventure with 2 stuffed bags, enough to whip up something like a spiritual pill. The hunter's wallet's trembling from the bill. No one said to give wings to a snake. Loaded with bags, they hit the elevator. Shu's like, you've been quiet, but she's all, nah, just my wallet's still crying. After all that, she cuts to the chase, and asks Shu Kiritani to join her guild, the Curse, promising he'd get the same VIP treatment. Our hero's like, nah, hard pass. Sora's like, ouch, harsh, at least spill why. He's like, no real reason, just not into being under someone, so the SS hunter switches gears. Out of nowhere, she's like, hold my hand, wanna feel that again? Whoa. Meanwhile, they've hit the first floor. Shu's like, why is someone at the top pushing for more? Sora's like, gotta climb higher, more people expect, more results needed. That's why she's gotta get way stronger. Our guy gets it and agrees, especially since he's curious how far Japan's #1 can go. Sora Aoki takes him to her private gym, probably the biggest, chillest spot around, and asks if it's cool. Instead of answering, Sho spots the spear and asks why the switch. She's like, the old one got trashed fighting the moon. The hunter's like, I'll try to hold back my mana, but Shu's like, nah, go all out, she expected that. Then Sora's like, get ready, and charges her new spear with lightning. She doesn't waste a second and charges straight at him, pulls off a clean spear attack, but Sho blocks it like a boss. Then the protagonist uses the sword to shove the adversary back. Sora slides a bit, but keeps her battle stance on point, and the dude's holding the sword like it's his best friend. He notices Sora's not really nailing the whole mana thing, turning the fight into a straight-up muscle match. The protagonist thinks the strategy's kinda cool, like a new level in a game. The opponents lock eyes for a sec. Sora leaps and cracks the ground with her high heel. Talk about a power move. She goes for the protagonist again, but this time he dodges like a ninja. Then the hunter twirls the spear, whipping up a lightning hurricane. Shu barely dodges the zappy end of the weapon. The dude steps back just enough to dodge the electric vibes, and spots a gap in the girl's moves. Then he zooms in with the sword's tip, and nails Sora between the ribs, but still above the armor. But wait, something catches the protagonist's eye. The hunter's using mana as a shield. It's so thick the sword can't even poke through. Sora steps back, totally shook, like how's this guy rank F? Shu's like, yeah, on paper, I'm rank F. But the young dude realizes this fight's gonna drag on, so he chucks the sword to the ground. The girl's all confused, asking if he's giving up, but Shu's like, nah, just don't wanna hurt ya, no hard feelings, okay? Then the protagonist cranks his mana from 35 to 70, telling the girl it's a nod to her strength. Now, with no sword, Sho charges at Sora, then the girl spins the spear, whipping up a lightning storm to keep Sho at bay. The dude takes tiny steps, dodging, plotting a way in. Then he just decides to grab a spark, going full lightning thief mode. Sora's jaw drops like, how's he catching her lightning with his hand? Sho grabs the lightning and rides the current, leaving Sora wondering what in the world is happening. Then the dude finally gets close, sneaking up behind her, and pulls out a move someone taught him in a past life. Shu can't believe he's using this skill now, but here he is, smacking his palm on Sora's back. With one hit, the invasive palm, he busts through the hunter's mana shield. Then the girl has a flashback, remembering when she awakened, the pressure of everyone's expectations from day one. She was perfect, mature, graceful, a hero in the Fisher battle, promoted to rank S without a second thought about her age. But Sora took it all on without a peep. After the promotion, she was already hunting for her next goal. Then her employee got worried, suggesting she take a break. It had been 3 days of non-stop missions. She, with panda eyes and falling apart, agrees maybe a chill day at home is a good idea. Then a little ruckus catches the hunter's eye. She spots a bunch of high schoolers just having a blast, goofing around, and she's surprised at how different that is from her life. She even imagines herself as one of the teens in the group. The employee snaps her back to reality, asking if she's okay. Then Sora turns back to the car, deciding there's no time to chill, telling the driver to head back to the rift. Then the girl wakes up and first thing she asks Sho if she lost, and he nods. She admits she kinda saw it coming, but feels embarrassed. The protagonist says it's normal to feel that way with all the weight she carries. Sora snaps back, saying she didn't ask for a lecture and having a whole country on her shoulders is too much. But Shu totally gets it, knowing she didn't choose this heavy load. As she looks at him, tears roll down the hunter's face. It's probably the first time she lost and the first time someone got her struggle. Then the young dude keeps on, telling Sora he's got her back, but if she keeps rushing, it'll always end the same. Then the girl lifts her head and asks him to teach her the secret to his strength. The protagonist's all chill with it, but she's gotta drop everything and come over. Meanwhile, somewhere else, there's a brawl going down. Shin's dodging a monster's wild swings. Then he spots another goblin sneaking up from the side. The young apprentice smacks it on the head with his shield, and finishes it off by stabbing its heart with his spear. Honestly, Shin's having a blast with how fast he's leveling up. When it's done, he tells his big bro, looking for a thumbs up. But then he notices the protagonist watching a YouTube vid and says it feels like deja vu. His master says he's just imagining things. The shield Sho got for his apprentice fits like a glove, and now Shin's the first official tank of the guild that doesn't even exist yet. But the boy wonders if it's too soon to be the tank, and the protagonist tells him to chill. He's got a role that fits him. Then Shin gets all hyped and decides to charge ahead since he's the tank. Meanwhile, our fake young dude's super grateful he found a kid with real skills and the SS hunter. Now he just needs to hit rank C. The protagonist's thoughts get cut off by his apprentice's shout, so he bolts toward the noise. When he gets there, Shin's pointing at the source of the shock. Shu looks and sees a warrior's lifeless body leaning against a rock. Then the master comments that the guy was probably a tank and hasn't been dead long. The apprentice is amazed he knows this stuff. Even though they're tiny, there are still traces of mana coming from the body, so he knows it hasn't been long. Then the two dive deeper into the rank E cave called Saitama City Hall, hunting for clues. As Shu guessed, he found the rest of the team, all equally toast. The youngest freaks out and asks if the dungeon's got a monster tougher than expected. But the protagonist says this isn't a monster's doing. The team got taken out in a specific order. First the healer, then the damage dealer, and lastly the tank. The healer's the biggest pain if left alive, so they went first. Then it was just about taking out the other two who wouldn't have backup. Rank E monsters don't think like that. Then Sho spills to the boy that this mini-massacre was probably done by another hunter. Shin's shook and asks what might be in the boss room. The guys reach the dungeon's final chamber only to find a tiny camp. It even looks like a homeless person was crashing there. Then the apprentice notes that it seems like that spot was a hideout. Shu adds that they must be pretty messed up to commit murders and live in dungeons. Strong traces of mana are still hanging around. The protagonist figures the culprits must have bailed because they found their hideout. Poor Shin says it's super unlucky to find this kind of thing in the dungeon he was using to train, but Sho disagrees. Actually, our young dude thinks they were super lucky. The apprentice doesn't know, but it was high time for the protagonist to find a good target to test his executioner skills. It was getting dark when the firefighters pulled the hunters' bodies out of the dungeon, and that Kantamura, a public servant our guy met after the Raymara Labyrinth incident, shows up to say hey to Sho. He even notes that the protagonist's now awakened. The fake young dude asks if the guy can tell just by looking at him. Kan says he can, since that's kinda his gig. Then the body recovery team member says he's got another thing to do and asks Shu, as a witness, to chat with the person in charge of the case. Kan then turns to a woman he calls Major and asks her to handle the rest. The woman agrees and thanks him for his skills. The woman and the guy with her walk up to the young men to confirm their names and what they saw. But before anyone can answer, she introduces herself as Kaoru Tachibana, Major of the Hunter Control Unit. Then Kaoru asks if the team was just the two of them. Sho confirms, and the woman immediately asks if they saw anything else weird in the dungeon. The protagonist says he doesn't know because he's never been through this. The Major says it's really not the kind of thing that usually happens in an E-rank dungeon. Kaoru hands her business card to Sho, as she'll keep digging into the case. The young man just thanks her. Our mana flow expert quickly spots the logo on the card. He'd seen the mark once when he was still a scavenger. The incident must be pretty serious if they had to bring in even the military. The pair of government officials start to bounce. Kaoru tells Shao to hit him up if he remembers anything. Then our main dude checks out the lady walking away, sizing up her mana flow. Dang, it's tight. Barely any leaks. Guess the top hunters are all about that stealth life. Shu decides to hustle and find the guy before the government snags him, so he tells the apprentice to chill and heads out. And boom, we're in the lit-up city of Omiya. Our hero scopes the scene. He's been tailing the baddies' trail. Then he spots some sketchy dark aura vibes and starts tracking them. He ends up at this mega hotel, like 30 stories high, thinking it's kinda lame for the criminal to hide in plain sight. Shu hops in the elevator, cause who's got time for all those stairs? And he easily finds the room of the cave incident culprit. Mana's just oozing out of the door cracks. The young dude strolls up like he's not about to wreck someone's day, and stops right in front of the mana-leaking door. Then he checks around to make sure no one's peeping, and uses his sword to bust the door open. The lock gives way like it's made of butter, letting him in. Then Shu hears glass shattering and bolts inside. The criminal yeeted himself through the window and dipped. Then our guy peeks out and spots a figure hopping across buildings. Of course, he's not letting that slide and goes after him. Sho jumps out, smashing the rest of the window, and chases the runaway at top speed. In no time, he's right on the dude's tail, leaping over rooftops. The criminal lands all clumsy on a terrace, realizing escape's a no-go, cause Shu's already there. Then the criminal yells, asking if Shu's a cop or a soldier, but our hero just says, if the dude gives up, it'll save him a headache. But the runaway's not about that surrender life and whips out a dagger. Right after, the criminal lunges at Sho from the side, and our hero just stands there, watching all this extra movement, probably judging his mana flow too. Meanwhile, the criminal thinks he's slick and too fast to catch. He brags about taking Sho out in one hit, but he whiffs it. The family inside must think there's a catfight on their roof. Our hero sidesteps, dodging the criminal, and sweeps him, making the guy eat dirt. Then he pins the dude down, taking the chance to grill him, starting with why he was living in a dungeon. He also asks for his name, age, ID, social security number, mom's name, and who he works for. The guy asks if Sho knows the fools he took out, and he asks what's wrong with squashing some bugs. Then he tells Sho to quit acting like a blackmailer, since the law's gonna decide his fate. Our hero's patience snaps, and he asks if the guy really thinks the threats were fake and he can just go back to his shady business. That's when the guy realizes it's serious and freaks out. The last thing he hears is Shu's warning, no one's taking him to court. Then Sho twists the guy's neck like a bottle cap. The criminal drops, and the system pings that Shu leveled up. Our dude's surprised to level up by squashing a bug like that. The system pops up again, showing a new skill, unrestrained enhancement. Now Shu's sure his executioner ability's perfect for hunting baddies. Then he wonders if heretics are just criminals or people using hunter skills for evil. Either way, it's a sick way to level up. The system's got his back. Shu's chilling, messing with his system window when the criminal's phone rings. Our hero picks up, and there's a guy cussing out someone named Maki, the criminal. Then the guy complains that the fool doesn't even answer the phone. The guy on the line keeps saying Day X is coming and tells the little criminal not to get caught, but the silence hints it's not Maki on the phone. Then the guy asks who's holding the phone. Our hero just comments they must be a new group to rely on a bug like that. The criminal's all mad and asks if he heard right. Shu's all, what kind of plan needs a criminal like you? Seems Shu hit the bullseye cause the criminal's getting even more ticked off and warns Shu to zip it if he wants to keep breathing. Then the dude starts spewing threats, but our hero's over it and just yeets the phone, smashing it in two. Looking around, it seems they ended up somewhere way out of town. Shu pulls out Major Kaoru Tachibana's business card from his pocket. Then he figures maybe he should give a shout out to the helpful government peeps with some intel. Meanwhile, in a tiny building, a guy slams the table so hard it cracks like, chill dude. Some intern who saw it asks the captain if he's good, and the guy says Maki got nabbed. Then the crime intern asks if the cops are on their tail. The captain's like, no clue. But the dude on the phone didn't sound like control unit material. The big boss, Ryuji Jushima, an A-rank hunter, starts piecing it together, wondering what a non-gov hunter wants with them. They just moved and already got to bounce again. Time to kick off the next plan, so Ryuji's got to find a certain dude. Then the scene flips to Tentu's special prison, and someone says the place is a total drag. Kaoru explains to the pair that it's cause of a matter blocker, which zaps hunters' powers. If the hunter's A rank or lower, their powers vanish, and S rank or higher can only use half their mojo. The pair stops in front of a thick metal door, but before going in, the police intern asks who they're meeting in a place like this. Kaoru says it's someone she knows. The nerdy guy's shocked and asks how she knows a criminal this big time. And further ahead, there's a long-haired dude at a small table. Then the detainee grins at the military duo, and the intern gets what the woman meant when she said the criminal was known to her. The handcuffed guy greets Kaoru and notices she got promoted. His name's Yusaku Hijitaka, a former hunter and ex-control unit instructor. The woman sits at the table, and Hijitaka jokes that being a hunter's awesome, especially with fast promotions, but Kaoru cuts him off, saying he's been wasting his breath for 8 years. She reminds the criminal he taught her how to interrogate, so he should know it's time to cut the nonsense. But Hijitaka still mocks her. Then the officer gets to the point and tosses some photos on the table, showing Ryuji Jushima, a former class assistant, but now the guy's stirring up organized crime everywhere. Hijitaka asks if she's accusing him of being behind this even while locked up. The woman loses her cool and stands up, slamming the table. She promises this time she won't let the criminal budge an inch. Nothing like the Prime Minister's assassination attempt 8 years ago can happen again. The guy gives a villainous chuckle and asks Kaoru if she's ever felt the duty to fulfill something. She doesn't get it and says Hijitaka's talking nonsense again. Then the criminal explains that right now, a bunch of clueless folks wearing the law's cloak are above them. That's why he decided 8 years ago to bury and use them as an example. But he says he even feels bad for the tragedies along the way, making Kaoru furious, since one of the people Hijitaka took out to reach his goals was the major's dad and a great hunter. Then the guy plays the victim and asks why she's kicking a dead dog. Kaoru loses it and lunges at the detainee. The man enjoys the drama, and the woman asks if he really just chills in this cell all the time. She promises that no matter what, this time things won't go his way. After that, the pair leave the cell and head to the corridors. Then Kaoru starts telling her partner what went down 8 years ago. 35 hunters went after the criminal to stop him from offing the prime minister, and one of those hunters was her dad. In the end, the current association president, Kenzu Wakamatsu, managed to mess up Hijitaka's plans, but by then the sacrifices were unavoidable. Despite everything, Kaoru's all chill and says, "That's old news, let's get back to work." She grabs her phone and sees Shu's already handled some minor stuff for their case. Then she tells the unnamed dude working with her that the nutjob who busted out of the dungeon yesterday reached out. Speaking of our dude, he's in a D-rank dungeon called the Mud Mine, probably exploring with the newbie. Looks like they were chatting about rewards and Shin asks if Shu's now trading materials instead of cash. The main guy's like, nah, just adding materials to my loot, and the younger one's confused like, why not just sell and cash in? Shu explains not everything's store-bought and tells the kid to chill, then boom, a crystal-covered armadillo monster pops up. Despite the jump scare, Shin quickly yeets his spear at the creature, which screams like it wasn't the one that started the beef. Another one of those creatures sneaks up behind the newbie, who freaks out. But Big Bro's there to save the day. One swift move and bam, creature's toast. The creature hits the ground, already split in two. Surrounded by monsters, Shin's like, why do you need these materials anyway? And our guy's like, I'll spill later. Then they start farming the armadillos. Shin takes them down one by one. but Shu's out here slaying 3 at a time, and finally, they clear the area. But then the cave starts shaking, cue the dungeon boss entrance, which is just another crystal armadillo, except this one hit the gym hard. The main guy's like, perfect timing, and Shin's all, how's this good timing? No time's good for a boss fight. Sho charges at the Cave King, already dreaming of the loot haul. The big creature tries to smash our dude with a punch, but he's quick, running up the armadillo's arm like a ninja. Reaching a high point, Shu leaps to the creature's neck, then flips his sword, holding it dagger style, and plunges the blade deep into the boss. The creature's throwing a tantrum, but the main guy's unfazed, slicing it like a BBQ sausage, and Shu lands with style and flair. The newbie's like, no way I can compete with that, and our guy's like, good, 'cause that'd be a drag. And they keep playfully roasting each other as the day fades. Later, a glowing sphere starts sucking in air. That's the fairy race's trick to awaken hidden powers. The main guy spent the night crafting a spiritual pill with Sora Aoki's gifted materials. The armadillo dungeon trip was to snag the missing bits. Shu's hands hover around the sphere, trying to keep it steady. First try, he made a green slime. Second, a crispy amoeba. Third, a busted marble. Fourth, a D20. Fifth just torched the table. And sixth was just dust. Time flew, and the sky was pitch black. Shu called it quits when, on the 7th try, he made an armadillo's jaw. Now it was game time. It had to work. So the main guy worked the clay jaw with his mana, like a monk with patience, until a wild glow started shining from his work. The glow grew as Sho carefully worked his mana. His eyes sparkled with hope. He nailed it this time. Even if it was just a rank D spiritual pill, it was still a win. Shu didn't waste a second and took the pill he spent 10 hours crafting, not even admiring it first. The pill's job is to boost stats without burning precious skill points meant for mana. This pill bumped the main guy's stamina by 10, making more so he wouldn't just rely on the executioner to level up. Then the TV news caught his eye, an unidentified body found at a crossroads. Cops think it's linked to a crime spree in Fukui province, which piques our guy's interest. Maybe he'll find some heretics there. So Sho grabs a sketchy bag and decides to leak some dirt on the bandits to see how far Major Kaoru can go. The moon shines solo in a starless sky. Officer Kaoru strolls through the underground parking lot, all chill. Then she spots some random stuff on her car's windshield, a busted phone and some papers like, what? She grabs one paper and it says it's the phone of the criminal who just got busted. Our hero watches from afar as the woman, who was about to chill, now has to pull an all-nighter because of him. Then Sho sneaks off when he sees Kaoru's already deep in a call about the stuff, and his job's done. Soon after, the parking lot's empty again. In an office, someone spills the tea that the crime wave's common link is Ryuji Jushima always being nearby, and right now, he's in Tokyo. Duzan Matsuo, the control unit's colonel, asks if she gets how serious this is. Kaoru nods with confidence, so the colonel asks what's backing her up. Then the major explains the only contact on the dead bandit's phone leads to the office where Ryuji was last seen in Tokyo. Then the boss talks about the big deal in Fukui. There the bad guys were after the nuclear plant. Kaoru spills that all the clues where Maki was last seen point to the Fukui attack. And Ryuji was also in Fukui during the chaos. The associations, sending hunters to fix this mess. This is the shot to nab them for good. Duzan wonders what the bandit's after in Tokyo, and guesses it might be about Hijitaka. Kaoru gets all fired up just hearing the criminal's name and asks what it's got to do with Hijitaka. Then the colonel wonders what these folks want with that old dude, and the major says they'll probably try to take out the prime minister again. Even if not, the gang's definitely plotting something. They're watching the control unit's every move. Then Duzan jokes about how Kaoru gets all worked up when it's about Yusaku Hijitaka. Then the colonel says today the prime minister's flying out and asks if she really thinks a locked-up guy can pull off revenge. And the major argues the airport where the prime minister's leaving is right next to the special prison where that Hijitaka guy is. Finally, she says she'll own up to the operation's fallout if she's wrong, if it means stopping a disaster. Colonel Duzan tells her she hasn't changed a bit, but he decides to trust her gut and gives the green light for local police, then tells her to keep him in the loop. Kaoru's resolve stays strong, and she thanks the colonel for having her back. Meanwhile, outside Tendo's special prison, Ryuji's hearing a bunch of nonsense through his headphones. Looks like the Fukui gig was totally worth it. The underground tunnels are all mapped out. Then the hunter turns to his crime intern and says it's go time. The guy's all in. The Four Eyes steps up to the wall and stretches out his arm, barely touching the wall with his hand. Then the intern uses a skill called the Hand of the End, opening a hole in the prison wall. The prison still has matter blockers, which seriously cut down the hunter's power. Normally a big deal, but they scored a bracelet that cancels the blocker's effect. The Four Eyes tells everyone to slap on the bracelet. Then a mini army of people marches to storm the prison. Ryuji leads with the map, guiding the squad with signals. He closes his hand for the group to halt, then points up, showing they've hit the invasion spot. The intern uses the Hand of the End on the ceiling, opening a hole in one of the prison's storage room floors. The invaders climb up with ladders, ready to roll now that things are about to get wild. Ryuji stays at the front and is the first to be spotted by two random employees. One of them shouts, asking what that dude's doing there. But before the unlucky ones can make a scene, the operation leader steps in, tossing one up and burying and smothering the other in the ground. Then Ryuji tells the crew to hustle. They're almost at the control room. The terrorists sneak through the long corridor inside the prison and stop at the control room door. Ryuji signals to the intern. Then the Four Eyes touches the door with his finger, but this time, he doesn't make a giant hole in the wall like usual, just a tiny one that a rat could barely squeeze through. Ryuji checks if anyone inside the room noticed the move, but it seems no one did. Then the squad leader takes a deep breath, filling his lungs to the max, and lets it out, turning the room into a poison zone, like a real-life video game boss move. Everyone starts feeling woozy and dropping like flies. The crew strolls into the control room, and Ryuji's all, "Yo, we gotta wrap this up before the next shift rolls in, or we're toast." The captain's fingers are flying over the keyboard. Then, bam, he hits a red button, and it's game over. Now comes the epic part of the mission. Time to bust Yusaku Hijitaka out of his cell. When the squad rolls up, they see the dude with long hair all chained up, but he's grinning like he just won the lottery. The ex-students bow down, showing mad respect and say they're here to bust him out. Hijitaka's like, "Wow, what a fancy rescue party." But he's been waiting forever and is over it. In the car, Kaoru's grumbling about the alert range being too short, and it's not gonna cut it, so she orders backup. She calls for reinforcements from the Hunters Association, but the person on the other end is probably napping. The Major's muttering some choice words, guess it's up to her now. Then they zoom off to the special prison. When they get there, it's like a rave, alarms blaring everywhere. Kaoru and her sidekick dash inside, but they're a step behind. The squad's already ghosted the corridor. Minami's all, "Yo, it's too risky," but Kaoru's not hearing it. She watches the gang's backs fading away. Then she figures as long as the ability blocker is on, they still got a shot, so she whips out a pistol from her blazer. The dude in the yellow jacket spots the control unit officers, and is like, "What's she up to?" Then Kaoru pops off 3 shots at the crime intern. The Four Eyes just stretches his arm out, and poof, the bullets vanish mid-air. He even has the nerve to whine about the control unit being too hardcore, shooting first, asking later. Kaoru realizes the guy's using powers like it's no big deal. Then the intern's all, "Did you really think we'd roll up unprepared?" The officer notices everyone's rocking a bracelet and wonders if that's why they're immune to the blocker. Ryuji's like, "Uh-oh, we got a problem." And Hijitaka's like, "Is it Major Tachibana?" The long-haired dude's pumped to see a familiar face and asks if she's here for his freedom party. But the woman's had enough. She orders the baddie to quit messing around and get back to his cell, cause she knows the prime minister's the target. The bandit's like, "Kaoru, you're sharp, but you're showing up changes zilch, cause today you're toast." Then Hijitaka's like, "I'm out. Airport folks are sticklers for time." The local cops get the order to stop Hijitaka no matter what, but Ryuji and the intern hang back to block them. While Four Eyes is blocking shots, Ryuji's unleashing his toxic breath. The officers try to bail, but it's too late. The poison's got him. Meanwhile, the crime intern's charging at the Major to stop her from shooting Ryuji. He grabs Kaoru by the collar with his doom hand, but lucky for her, he only snags the tie, which crumbles to dust. Minami fires at the guy to get his attention, and Four Eyes is like, "Is this all the control units got? At this rate, I'm turning everyone to dust." Then the baddie lunges at the Major again with his doom hand ready, but before he can touch her, his arm's suddenly airborne, leaving a bunch of red puddles on the floor. The criminal's down, screaming. Using his right hand's gonna be a challenge now. Kaoru's catching her breath when a hand lands on her shoulder. "It's all good now, kiddo." Like a true hero, Sho shows up just in time to crash the party, but now it's just him and the Major. The woman's puzzled seeing the young dude, but he's like, "Long time no see." Four Eyes gets up, totally raging, curses at our young hero, and asks if he's with the control unit. So, the intern's glasses went flying while he was falling, and now he's babbling nonsense, saying stuff about thinking the young dude was different, his arm being pricey, and blah blah blah. Our hero just chuckles, because no matter the world, the weaklings never zip it. Then the bandit asks what's so funny while trying to attack with his one good hand, but Sho just sidesteps, easy peasy. Time for the protagonist to strike back, but the intern throws up a mana wall to block the hit, though he drops the wall as soon as the sword hits the ground, trying to pull a sneaky move on Sho. But our hero dodges like, "Come on, that's so predictable." Then the intern thinks it's smart to ask what our young dude's up to, right in the middle of the fight, and then the sword slices through the useless guy like butter. He hits the ground, all twisted up. No doubt he was a baddie, and our hero levels up a bunch. Still standing by the intern's body, Shu looks at Ryuji and gives him a heads up that he's next. The criminal's super confused. The young dude shouldn't be moving like that with the blocker on. But our hero's so over the villain's whining. Time for them to pay up for their bad deeds. And Shu's the one collecting the debt. Ryuji recognizes the young dude's voice. It's the same one from when he called Maki's phone. Now he's even madder, knowing it's the guy who messed with him before. So the venomous dude tells our hero that, because he messed with Maki, He's not getting an easy end. Shu's surprised Ryuji cares about his crime buddy, but whatever. He tells him to quit stalling and bring it on. Ironically, the guy tells the protagonist to zip it and fires 7 venom shots from his hands. The young dude dodges most of them. Some weren't even aimed right. Compared to Sora Aoki's lightning storm, dodging that was like sitting on pudding. The catch is, Ryuji's green slime is instant, so if even one hits, it's gonna be a mess. Shu decides to speed things up, so he boosts his mana and charges at the guy. Ryuji thinks the young dude messed up by rushing in, so he grins and launches a bigger poison blast. Our hero uses his sword to slice through the poison in the air, and keeps charging at the enemy, who's super close now. Ryuji dodges the first attack from below, but Sho takes the chance to grip his sword with both hands and swings down, slicing Ryuji in half. The venomous dude stands there for a second after the hit, but soon drops and becomes just another stat. Once again, our hero levels up a bunch. Those guys must have been real bad news. Behind him, Kaoru watches in awe. Even with the blocker on, Shu moved like a pro, just using sword skills. Then the major asks the young swordsman's name, and he just says Shu Kiritani. Then she wants to know how he got there. No regular person should be able to get in, and his timing was spot on. Our hero brushes her off. First, she's talking nonsense to the guy who just saved her. Second, he's got no time for this. After that, Kaoru stays quiet, so the protagonist asks if there was another guy with them. Shu only briefly saw the man, but being a mana flow expert, he knew right away that was the strongest guy. But so much went down that the military woman can barely talk. Then Shu reveals everything's gone as he predicted so far, and asks if she knows where to find some decent backup. Cut to Janela Airport. There's smoke everywhere, towers falling, planes on fire, total chaos. In the middle of it all is Yusaku Hijitaka, looking like a black hole, wrecking everything. Soldiers behind a barricade try to figure out what's happening. Seems the terrorist is an S-rank hunter. One soldier orders to call for immediate backup from the Hunters Association. The rest unload clip after clip of automatic rifles at the guy causing havoc. But Hijitaka throws up an energy barrier and stops all the bullets like it's nothing. Then he pulls the mana back, making the bullets drop like they hit a bank vault. The soldiers don't back down and march towards the criminal. Hijitaka stops in front of a wall of officers, and all he can say is, "Guess some folks never learn, huh?" Then, the hunter unleashes flames from his left hand, telling the soldiers to just melt away, and bam, 3 fireballs fly out at once. But instead of aiming at the soldiers, Hijitaka targets a nearby plane. Boom! The plane explodes, knocking down several soldiers and setting others on fire. The scene's a total nightmare. People are turning into charcoal in Hijitaka's flames. Even the ground he walks on looks like lava. An assassin-type hunter sneaks up behind him, but Hijitaka's got eyes in the back of his head. He grabs the guy by the head, surprised there's still a hunter alive. Then he slams the dude's head into the ground like a shampoo commercial gone wrong, and even asks who trained him. 'Cause he's super weak, but the guy's head is literally on fire, so yeah, not listening. After turning the hunter to dust, Hijitaka's annoyed he hasn't found the politician yet, just a bunch of human shields. Then he stops in front of a plane and tells the wind he learned a lot about abilities while bored in prison. In his fiery stroll, Yusaku Hijitaka activates 7 abilities, creating a new skill, the Incarnation of Fire, a power that turns him into a mini-sun on Earth. He's super stoked, like, yep, that's a professor-level skill. Laughing like a maniac, with no one to stop him, he keeps wrecking the airport. Meanwhile, a black sedan zooms through the empty streets. Inside are Shu, Minami, and Major Kaoru, who tells Shu she'll be in charge at the airport, cause Hijitaka's on another level. Shu's like, didn't need to say it, not planning to interfere, but Kaoru's not buying it. But really, she doesn't have many options. The elite hunters are in Fukui, and she needs all the help she can get. At least today marks the end of Yusaku Hijitaka's terror. When they arrive, there's no airport left, just ruins and bodies everywhere. Sho stares at the flames while Kaoru grumbles about the criminal's flashy show. The major says she'll handle the terrorist and tells Minami to rescue the injured. Our hero looks around. Hijitaka was once a teacher. Now he's a mass murderer, perfect for the executioner skill. Kaoru grabs Sho's attention. She tells him that, since it's an emergency, she's not interested in investigating him. But she can't guarantee his safety, so no matter how talented he is, he shouldn't act impulsively, or he'll end up toast. Shu faces her speech with a grin. She really cares about people's safety. Finally, Kaoru says this is a life or death battle. He needs to know his limits and be careful. Sho looks at her, thanks her for the advice, and says he'll keep it in mind. Back to the chaos at the airport. While tossing another charred lunatic, Hijitaka finally blazes his way to the Prime Minister. The old man can't believe it's happening again, and Hijitaka decides to make a scene instead of finishing him off. In flames, he tells the old man that even 8 years in prison weren't enough to make him take orders from a regular person. The criminal's closing in on the politician, but something stops him. His former student, Tachibana, shows up, and Hijitaka reminds her. He warned this would be her end. Kaoru fires back, saying she could say the same. How many times did she tell him to stay put? And yet, here they are. Then he comments on how she's evolved, and she tells him to cut the nonsense and surrender. But he says surrendering is nonsense, and leaps with a flaming fist at the Prime Minister. But a sword tip stops Hijitaka from reaching the old man. Sho steps in, standing between the politician and the terrorist. Then our young hero ignores the flaming lunatic and tells the old man to hang in there a bit longer. The protagonist's all, "Hey, need a hand?" and helps the Prime Minister up. The Prime Minister's super grateful and asks for his name, but the young dude's like, "Nah, no need for that." Meanwhile, Hijitaka's in the back, watching like it's some comedy show. Instead of attacking, the ex-teacher's all, "Who even is this mysterious dude with the basic sword?" And Sho's like, "Told ya, no need for names." The criminal's like, "No chit-chat," and fires up his flames on his right hand. He launches a fireball at our hero and the Prime Minister. But our young dude scoops up the politician and bolts, carrying him like a football. The old guy's even apologizing for the mess. Hijitaka's not having it though. He powers up his feet to chase them, thinking, 8 years for this? No way the old man's getting away. But Kaoru steps in, blocking his path. She conjures armor on her arms and tells the teacher, "Bummer, half your plan's toast." Hijitaka's all optimistic, thinking he's halfway there, so he attacks the major, saying he'll finish the job by taking them all down. Both enemies charge, ready for a showdown. They clash in a power explosion. Kaoru's bright blue mana versus Hijitaka's fiery flames. The villain holds the major's metal fist. She realizes she's stuck and freaks out. Hijitaka spreads flames along Kaoru's arm and taunts her, "Think you can get out of this alive?" Then he punches her in the stomach, sending her flying. Kaoru's using her super healing midair, and she's already gearing up to strike back. She pops up behind Hijitaka, who doubts his old student can break his bones. The terrorist's super quick, spinning with a strike before she can hit him. He seizes the chance to grab her, strangling Kaoru while scorching her chest. Hijitaka's having a blast with this. Then he blasts her away, sending her flying like a rag doll. She crashes down, like a sack of potatoes. Kaoru tries to stand, but she's wrecked. Her arms are burnt, and her top's now a sleeveless crop. But lucky for her, our hero's back in action. The terrorist eyes the young man like he's a long checkout line. And Sho just strolls onto the battlefield. The major warns him, saying even he's no match for Hijitaka's beast mode. But the protagonist's like, "You did great, take a breather." And meanwhile, she can watch him show what it means to know your limits and go all out. Hijitaka's face to face with the protagonist. He's grumbling about being out of prison but too many people showing up. Then, the long-haired guy waves him off, saying the young dude doesn't need to fight him. He starts to walk past Sho, telling him to chill because he doesn't want to waste talent. Then, the protagonist's sword slices through his hair. Our hero's like, "If you want to do your thing, I can do mine too." But Hijitaka's not thrilled. Sho even taunts him, asking if he can really handle him. The villain's still grinning, counterattacking with enthusiasm. But he's a bit shocked when the protagonist dodges. Our young hero knows he can't afford distractions in this fight. Sho throws the poison he got from taking down Ryuji at Hijitaka, and the instructor blocks it with a mana ball. Then, he attacks again, creating a fiery claw. Sho jumps and spins, dodging the attack like a pro. Hijitaka tells the protagonist he gets why Kaoru believes in him but also sees his flaws. But the protagonist's too busy dodging fireballs to chat. The instructor detonates the fireballs, creating a crater on the runway. For someone who didn't want this fight, Hijitaka's pretty pleased. The young man keeps up, facing him like an equal, not a burn on his clothes. Then, the villain goes back to his blah blah blah, saying mana's like basic skills. Among hunters, mana's the foundation, and that's the difference between them. Shu's all like, "Man, I heard that dude's an instructor, but this class is so snooze-worthy, I can't even." He jokes, saying the guy's just a bit older with more mana, and wonders if that's really something to flex about. The instructor's like, "What did you say?" And the young dude's all, "If you're not gonna fight, maybe head back to jail." But Sho's already clocked that the mana gap between them is pretty huge. Basically, Hijitaka knows he's stronger right now and wants to drag the fight out, cause the young dude's mana will drain faster. Watching Sho's moves, the baddie uses his super boost ability. He blocks the young dude's charged attack with just his fingertips, no sweat. Then the young dude's like, "You gonna attack or nah?" And the long-haired guy's all, "I'll attack when I feel like it." They're bouncing around, smacking each other, but it's like they're evenly matched. Sho kicks off the ground, sliding back to get some space. Our hero's gotta admit, the villain's tough as nails. Then he realizes, if this keeps up, the fight's never gonna end. Hijitaka's about to ask if the young dude's out of juice, but then sees him slipping through the electric fence. Sho leaps to get away, and the villain's laughing, "You really think you can ditch me?" The young dude hits the thicket, and boom, there's a fire explosion right behind him. The long-haired guy's on his tail again, like he's just toying with him. Then the young dude gives a big push off the ground, and flies back, zooming over the villain. The blonde's like, "Are we playing tag now?" This time, the young dude doesn't even need to jump back, cause Hijitaka's crashing in like a wrecking ball, smashing everything. After getting some distance, the young dude stops, and checks out how the villain's coming at him. This side-to-side move wasn't just for show, it helped him figure out the villain's pattern. Whenever Hijitaka tries to close in, he charges like a bull, so Sho decides to go all in with one big strike, closing his eyes to focus and gather all the mana he can, pumping all his energy into the sword. The instructor's cracking up thinking, this kid's got a death wish, closing his eyes mid-fight. Then the young dude plans to use Hijitaka's bull charge against him. He keeps his eyes shut, feeling the villain's approach like a freight train. The villain's so full of himself he doesn't even think about what the young dude's plotting and charges in like a fool. He tries to drop another villain monologue but gets cut off by the sword's tip. In the end, Shu's plan works, and with one strike, Hijitaka's head rolls. For a sec, the young dude just stands there. The hit was so epic, the sword's tip snapped off and flew sky high. Sadly, by chopping off the villain's head, he also messed up his fabulous hair. Finally, the young dude gets a breather, and as he chills, he just collapses. That last move drained all of Sho's energy, making him fall back. What he didn't see coming was leveling up like 10 times after beating Hijitaka. But what nobody noticed was that, a few minutes earlier, someone else was watching the showdown. And this someone seems bummed about how it ended. Two creepy little kids are sulking in a tree. They didn't think Yusaku Hijitaka would be such a flop. Plus, a new player showed up. Who was that dude? That kid on the ground was weak but super precise. His mana was crazy refined. So the creepy kids hold hands and decide to bounce. They gotta report every little thing they saw, no matter how tiny. Meanwhile, in some gym, with some lightning, Sora's going all out with her lightning storm training. She's even learned to hold her own electricity in her hand. Her goal? Control electricity like it's a delicate web. This was the lesson the young dude left her last time they hung out. Sora even asked if it'd make her stronger. The girl uses her arms to shield herself from her own blast. And then she remembers Sho's answer to her question about getting stronger, and it wasn't up to him. Only by mastering the lightning could the hunter focus her energy in one spot, then unleash it. But judging by the tiny crater in the ground, she messed up again. Sora takes a breather, cause let's be real, nobody's a superhero. Then she tunes into the TV and hears about the airport drama from last night. When the reporter starts yapping about the hunter who stopped Hijitaka, she perks up. Then she glances at the TV and sees her buddy, acting all modest. Apparently, he couldn't dodge one of the reporters. One of the questions thrown at him was if he could outdo the SS hunter Sora Aoki, and he just grins, saying nah, that's a wild thought. And there she is, watching on her tablet, the sneaky dude who already beat her, claiming he couldn't. She even squishes her juice box in frustration. Then the hunter grabs her spear from the ground, and decides she's gonna nail that skill today, powered by pure rage. In a temple with a sky-high ceiling and floating blue rocks, a bunch of folks are huddled around a round table. A quirky one with a dragon mask grumbles, asking what's up now since they agreed not to meet for ages. Then, a dude with a lion mask cuts to the chase, saying the twins spotted a potential issue. Someone with slick mana and enchantment skills. The eagle mask questions how many wild goose chases they've been on because of such info and wonders what the twins are even doing there. Then the lion explains he needed the twins to test a new gadget he stumbled upon, but the eagle's not having it, so the chicken head says whether the guy's a problem or not doesn't matter, and if the lion's bugged, he should handle it and bounce. He mentions it's been 50 years since they unleashed powers to the human world, so folks must have leveled up their mana game. After all, they weren't the only ones who could refine it. Hijitaka could do it too. Then someone at the table comments it was probably like 10 years ago. Some random human accidentally stopped the fisher. So the lion asks the snake if he thinks the same, but the dude stays mum. Then another guy at the table grabs the lion's attention, saying everything's chill, they just need to check it out. This is the butterfly mask, and he volunteers to go scope out the guy. The lion asks what changed his mind, and the butterfly says things have been too chill lately. Maybe the twins spotted the swordsman. Everyone remembers the magic sword, and if that's the case. But the lion chuckles, saying in their world, that's just a bedtime story. Meanwhile, on TV, Sho Kuretani pops up again. He's the buzz right now, so Kaoru asks if he's trying to build a public persona. The protagonist shakes his Nescau and says people see what they want to see. He just gives a general vibe, and they fill in the blanks. Then the woman asks if the young man's alright. Our guy's all suited up, and instead of answering, notes that the major seems distracted. Sho tells the military woman to keep it simple and decide if what happened was necessary or not. Kaoru stays quiet for a second. Then she tosses a small bag on the table and says, yep, it was necessary to take down a criminal threatening the whole country. The protagonist eyes the small bag and asks if that's necessary too. And the major replies that for someone in the control unit, yep, it was. In the small bag was the phone of the criminal he dealt with. The woman says since he helped, she won't go after him, but she'd like the protagonist to join the control unit. The government would back his moves and hook him up with the gear he needs. Kaoru starts listing the perks, but he cuts her off, thanking her for the offer but saying he's not interested. However, he adds something odd to his response. He mentions Jushima or Toyama would dig the proposal, both criminals he took down. Then the woman gets puzzled and asks what he means by that. But before he could answer, it clicks for her. Both Jushima's deadly poison ability and Toyama's Hand of the End ability got hyped by reporters as some of Shu Kiritani's epic skills. Kaoru's jaw drops, asking all panicky if Shu can actually swipe abilities, and he tells her to chill. The main dude spills the beans, saying since she's super smart, she should get why he bothered explaining. He tells the major she definitely wouldn't want to be used as bait. The woman just stands there, frozen, cause stealing abilities is mind-blowing. Then the guy gets up, thanks her for getting it, and says he's gotta bounce for another gig. But before he jets, he pats Kaoru's shoulder, leaving her all surprised. And then he says he's stoked to team up with her later, leaving the major totally speechless. Cut to a killer sunset at the hospital, the spiritual pills kicking in, the main dude's stats are leveling up without him even trying. Plus, he's snagged 4 more abilities from the heretics, but that word's bugging him. He's deep in thought. There's gotta be a reason the system calls his foes heretics. Aries' smile snaps him back to reality. Then he asks how the girl's feeling, and she says she still needs some tests, but her mana allergy seems cured. Shu wonders if the Fisher did the trick, and she admits that's her guess too. Then he jokes it's a bummer cuz she won't need those spiritual pills he whipped up, but she freaks out, saying she'll take anything he offers. Our hero watches, grinning as she munches the magic pills. If her bro saw her now, he'd be stoked. Then, being all responsible, he asks if she needs anything else. Aerie pauses, thinking hard. She soon spills that she wants to be a hunter, but he warns it's risky business. She doesn't care. She's all in, saying danger doesn't mean she's weak. This is the world her brother dreamed of, and she wants to see it for herself. While Aerie's buzzing, the main dude spots a tiny mana trace and gets curious, but his phone rings, pulling him away from the girl. He picks up, and it's Tamura from the Hunters Association, the guy who always pops up when things go sideways. Tamura's got some juicy info for him, so he asks if he's got a sec to chat. Aerie gets it, knowing our hero's got a packed schedule, and waves him off. Sho decides the mana trace was just his imagination and waves back as he heads out. Then we fast forward a month. Someone's grumbling about life at a subway station. On a phone screen, someone's theorizing on Juiter about Japan's first X-ranker making a comeback. Then Shin asks if these wild theories don't tick him off, but Shu says what's annoying is his apprentice still being stuck in rank C despite his coaching. Maybe he should push harder. The boy argues the master thinks this, cause he's got a skewed view. For a regular hunter, he's actually leveling up fast. Then the main dude goes all mom mode, saying he's not like everyone else. If he gets comfy, he won't grow right. Shin tries to argue back, but the teacher's look says it's a lost cause. So the apprentice switches gears, wondering what the association wants with the young man. Shu says they'll only know once they get there. Tamura's waiting at the reception to welcome them, and the main dude says it's a surprise seeing him in person. Tamura explains they figured a familiar face would be better, and without wasting time, asks if they're ready, since the Hunters Association president is waiting for the main dude. So our hero heads to the top of the massive association building. The president, Wakamatsu, apologizes for dragging him all the way there. Then he introduces himself to the young men who obviously know who he is. The young men introduce themselves back, Shu locking eyes with the man and Shin bowing. Wakamatsu notes Shin's grown a ton and says his grandpa would be proud. The boy blushes and changes the topic, asking about the old man. So, the prez is all, yo, I'd love to chat with my old buddy's grandson, but I can't. Got the most famous noob in town coming over, and hands Sho a tablet. Sho's like, is this about my rank? And the prez nods, yep, you're rank A now, and Sho's mind is blown. Prez spills the tea, saying it took a hot minute cause some folks weren't on board. Not even Sora Aoki hit rank A that fast. But Sho's not having it. He's all, nah, I deserve rank S, and I'm ready to prove it. Wakamatsu's like, can't just hand out rank S, you gotta earn it, my dude. But then, the prez drops a bombshell suggestion. Shu's all ears. What's the plan, chief? Prez explains, since the Raymara Labyrinth incident, dungeons are wild and out, changing all the time. The Aishi Cave went from rank S to SS, with monsters at Guardian level. The escort team found out after trying to pew-pew them. Shu's brain clicks. If they're Guardians, there's gotta be a core, maybe a Fisher. Prez is like, that's where you come in, help us out, and you might just snag that rank S. Shu's curious, why's Wakamatsu being so chill with a noob like me? And the old dude's like, been watching you, kid. Shu notes, extermination teams are guild only, right? Prez asks, thinking of starting your own guild? And Shu's like, yup, it's about time. Wakamatsu gives Shu a firm handshake. Tamura will fill you in, good luck, champ. Shu's grateful to Hijitaka, thinking, couldn't hit up an S-rank dungeon without him, time to start the guild. Shin's curious, why now? And Sho admits, just waiting for the right moment. Apprentice is like, what's the guild name gonna be? Shu's deep in thought. Perfect chance to catch the eye of folks from my past life. He mulls over names, maybe the continent, God Adea, or Overlord. Realizes bad memories are clouding the good ones, feels a bit meh. But no time for emo vibes, decides the guild's name will be Overlord. Shin jokes, right now, it's a 2-person guild, and Shu asks if he's got anyone in mind. Shin's like, we need a healer, supports are key for dungeons. Shu agrees but tells Shin they'll figure it out later, and Shin's not joining the extermination mission. Shin's shocked, why not? And Shu's like, too risky bro. Shin's got mad skills, will master dragon mana enchantment someday, but not yet. Shu explains, it's an S-rank dungeon, can't promise your safety. Shin insists, wanna roll with big bro, only way to level up. Shu turns away, hiding how proud he is of Shin's words. Then, it's mall time for our hero. Shin's like, master, buying me stuff too? And Shu's like, of course, gotta gear up my star tank. At the mall, a mysterious glasses and mask suspect tells Sho, can't just summon me whenever. Shu's like, yet here you are, so spill the beans. Catching the tsundere vibe, notices her new hair color. Sora dodges, I'll explain later, then asks what Shu needs. Shu shows the tablet with the extermination mission invite, wants expert advice. Sora's intrigued, while Shin's like, who's this shady character? And Shu's like, chill, it's all good. Sora agrees to help, and Shin finally recognizes her. Luckily, Shu stops Shin from outing the celeb in public, and the hunters hype to lead them on an epic gear shopping spree. A few hours later, poor Shin's juggling bags like a circus act, even got one hanging from his teeth while Sho's feeling all set with his gear. Then the main dude's all, what weapons should we grab? Sora's like, nah, the mall's got nothing for me. And she's all, I'll take you to my secret weapon spot. They roll up to this forge with a super loud owner. Shuguru Izumi, the blacksmith, greets them like they're old pals and asks, what's the order today? Sora's like, introducing my 2 new buddies. The guys say hey to the blacksmith, but the dude's giving them the side eye. Then he's all rude, saying, even with her vouching, I ain't selling to you two. Our guy, not one to let insults slide, claps back. I ain't buying just cause you're a master, it better be worth it. He keeps going, saying the dudes all talk, not impressed, expected more from Sora's weapon guy. Then he grabs a sword from the shop and roasts it, saying it looks like it'll snap just by holding it, yet it's for sale. The blacksmith's fuming at the guy's nerve. Then he dares the main dude, break it, and the shop's yours. Our boy Shu just taps the blade with 2 fingers. Sora tries to warn the old man about his mistake, but too late. The sword shatters in seconds, and the tip drops, stabbing the shop floor. Izumi's totally stunned, and Shu's like, what was that promise again? The old man looks at the others for backup, but they're already pretending to admire the scenery. Then the main dude asks if the blacksmith's got any more objections. Izumi's staring at the broken sword piece, still in shock. The guy made it look like cardboard. Shu's all, hope you're a man of your word, while Shin's trying to chill the main dude out. Then the old man turns to Sora, blaming her, asking who this guy is. She spills he's the hunter who took down the last Rift's guardian. That chill dude was the newbie who beat the guardian with 1 hit. Then the old man puts the sword's remains on the counter, and kinda apologizes, saying old age is messing with him, should have seen the guy's skills. But Shu's like, just show the real weapons and handle my materials right. And Izumi thinks that's cheeky, but a promise is a promise, right? So the blacksmith tells him to zip it and follow, then asks to bring the young guy too. The 3 hunters follow the old man to a metal door, and Izumi's all, I'll keep my word for underestimating you. Then the blacksmith pulls a lever, and there's a click. Turns out, the lever opens a secret passage in the floor. The old man tells them to hop in. They start going down a staircase that's kinda dark at first, but when they get there, lights flick on, showing a tunnel packed with weapons. Shin's hyped, asking if he can really take anything, and the old man reluctantly agrees, but he warns, don't grab what you can't handle, and the apprentice is like, I got this. Shu's browsing around. Compared to dwarf stuff, it's me, but now he gets the old man's confidence. Then something catches his eye, shining so bright it changes his eye color. A black sword blazing with flames, almost as tall as him. Checking the sword's stats, it's an S rank, boosts strength and resistance but cuts agility. Still, the bonus points make up for it. Izumi asks if he's into that sword, and he nods. Definitely quality work. Then the blacksmith explains it's made from a guardian monster's remains from 11 years ago, rare even overseas. And then he tosses a cloth from his clothes onto the sword. The cloth just disintegrates into dust as it gets close. Izumi's all, yo, anything this thing touches goes up in flames. And it was found chillin' next to a guardian fragment. Then Shu's like, why'd they just leave something so epic lying around? The old dude's all, well, the rift from 11 years ago from this crazy infernal fire dungeon took forever to close, and a bunch of people got sucked in. So, the hunters kinda decided it was a no-go zone for loot. Anyway, as long as no one messes with the sword, we're all good. But then, Of course, our main guy grabs the sword, and boom, flames everywhere. Izumi's so shocked, he literally falls backward. Shu's all chill, saying he just wanted to check out the SS Guardian patterns while holding the ashen infernal blade. The old man yells from the ground, "Kid, you nuts? An SS Dungeon Guardian fragment ain't for rookies." Sora and Shin hear the chaos, and start freaking out too. But surprise, surprise, the skill he got from beating Hijitaka is super handy. This man has got a mind of its own. Shu holds the sword sideways, and all these past images pop up, then he calls Sora over to continue their last lesson. The hunter's like, "Wait, what?" The young dude keeps talking. If she followed his last tips, she'll get it. No forcing it, just let it flow. And since she hooked him up with cool gear, he's gonna show her how it's done. Meanwhile, Shin's checking if the old guy's okay. What a sweetheart. The main guy starts focusing mana in his hands. The sword's acting all rebellious, like a teenager. Shu stretches the weapon, working the mana flow. No blinking, just pure concentration. Then, bam, a mysterious glow surrounds him. He's just crafted these delicate mana lines. While he's doing his thing, he tells the hunter she needs to tweak her energy to match the target. Shu wraps the sword in a mana net and kicks out the guardian inside. 'Cause now, the sword's his. The main dude battles the sword's nature using his power as a leash. Shin's always blown away by his master, and Izumi's gotta be glad he got out of bed today. Meanwhile, Sora's realizing she's got a lot to learn. Shu finally tames the sword, calming its flames. The old man's in shock at the Guardian Fragment's new vibe. Then the main guy's like, "Let's test this bad boy." He does a quick weight check, and then tests the explosive mana power in the weapon. When he's done, the blade glows and starts turning into a bracelet on Shu's wrist. Turns out, the gear's original form is a bracelet. This is some next level tech. Out of nowhere, a system screen pops up for our hero. He's just unlocked a skill called Martial Arts Master, letting him wield any weapon. Shu's stoked that the experience brought back one of his old traits, then tells the blacksmith he's keeping the sword. Before he can bounce, Sora's like, "Hold up," feeling he dropped too much knowledge on the tour, then asks if she's got more deets. Then the hunter warns him about the Rank S dungeon mission, and the main guy's like, "Why the sudden warning?" Sora spills that he's got a lot of haters among hunters, and an isolated dungeon's prime for betrayal. Finally, she says he should watch out for high-level hunters and that her guild's got his back if needed. But Shu's like, "I got this." She nods. If he soloed Hijitaka, he's probably overthinking, so he says he'll catch her in the dungeon and bounces. A few days later, tons of hunters gather at a camp in Aichi province, right by the Rank S dungeon portal called Magnus's Cradle. Some hunters are lugging heavy bags of supplies. Shin's like, "As expected, a Rank S dungeon's got everyone on edge," and the main guy's like, "No worries, but yeah, the vibe's off." Pro hunters usually get hyped for dungeons like these. Sho tells the apprentice it'd be nice if the hunters were actually pumped, but the kid's confused. All around, people are eyeing their two-person guild, without even trying to hide their dislike and bad vibes. Looks like Sora Aoki wasn't kidding. This crowd's gonna be a total headache. So, our hero heads to the guildmaster's tent. He rolls in, saying he's Sho Kiritani, boss of the Overlord Guild. Yuki Yasuda, boss of the Arrow Guild, just sits there like a statue. And Nami Yamagawa, boss of the Yamabiko Guild, is too busy gaming on her phone to care. Sho takes a seat. Seems like everyone else is acting like he's invisible. Then, someone barges in with an axe, almost ripping the tent apart. It's the big dude, Jin Arakawa, leader of the Titanic Guild, asking if Group 3 is just these peeps. Our hero introduces himself to the new guy, but the big dude cracks a joke, asking what kind of guild has only 2 members. Jin stands in front of the young guy, saying he heard about him. He's the dude who took down Hijitaka, but the young guy says it was just luck. And the big dude nods, like he's putting the young guy in his place. After all, Jin met Hijitaka at his best, and even now, he couldn't handle that beast, let alone a newbie. Our hero sighs, getting why everyone's so salty. Then the young guy flexes his mana, making the tent shake and papers fly, telling the big dude if he doesn't believe it, he can see for himself. He adds that thinking just because he can't do it means others can't is a dumb way to think. Jin gets mad at the young guy's guts and stands up. But Yuki yells for them to quit it, since it's almost mission time, and Jin backs off, grumbling. Yet the big dude's got more to say. He steps up to the hero, puts a hand on his shoulder, and warns him. He wants to see how long his nonsense lasts. Shu just brushes off his shoulder like, "Ever heard of personal space, dude? Why all the monsters in Magnus's Cradle are Guardian level is a mystery, but it's easy to guess there's a dungeon core." Outside the portal, Sentinel hunters are on standby, just in case, 'cause you never know when the core might go wild. On a small stage, Junosuke, leader of the Curse Guild, gives a pep talk to the hunters, saying this dungeon's not your usual playground. This time, the mission's happening before the Fisher even shows up. Finally, Junosuke hypes everyone up and kicks off the extermination mission. Shin's nervous but pumped cause he's finally diving into an S-rank dungeon, and the hunters march in all organized, in mixed guild groups. It doesn't take long for the battle to heat up, even the first floor is packed with monster mobs. At first, the high-level hunters clear the creatures without much sweat. Long-range pros target the small fry while tanks handle the big guys. And everything's looking good, the fight's organized, and the monsters don't stand a chance. Meanwhile, the supports are busy using their skills as the front and back lines swap attacks, even the dungeon floors getting wrecked. Meanwhile, the scavengers are hustling to work faster and faster. The hero quickly spots Jin Arakawa trying hard to leave him out of the mission. Well, it's not like the dude's being sneaky about it. Shu can only think how this kind of pettiness in a life or death place shows how small-minded the big dude is. Now that they know the dungeon monster's level, Shin asks the master if he's good, and the young guy says this level's just right for him. Then, a super buff rhino shows up for them to test. The hero checks out the hunters in Team 3. Soon they won't even bother hiding how much they hate the two-person guild. Then the big dude crouches and says it's time for the Overlord Guild to step up. If there are only 2 people, that's their problem. But our hero says they're ready. Better for Jin to zip it and watch how it's done. For now, Shu's sticking with his regular sword. No need for the cursed blade yet. And our awesome duo charges at the big beast, tank in front, damage right after. The first hit already gives the crowd a clue. Shin stops the rhino with his shield and plans to show it how to charge like a pro. The apprentice remembers the master's words while fighting and easily owns the creature. Even weighing like 5 tons, the monster can't budge Shin an inch. Nami, leader of another guild, is totally shook that the boy's just a rank C, and someone next to her notices he's soloing the monster. But duh, our hero's already on the move. The protagonist zooms straight for the eye of the other buffed rhino charging in, making the monster scream like it just stepped on a Lego as it backs off. When the first creature tries to help its buddy, the apprentice blocks its path. Shin charges up his spear attack and tells the creature it's game on with him. Then our tank buddy seizes the chance and smacks the monster right in its exposed belly. And the roided up rhino crashes down with the spear's mark like a bad tattoo. A shadow zooms in from the wrong direction, but our hero snatches the arrow mid-air like it's no biggie. Sho checks out the dungeon's version of a stray bullet and wonders what that was. Yuki, leader of the bow squad, jokes they were just trying to help, then asks if there's a problem. Shu snaps the arrow like a toothpick and says they don't need help, then asks if the archer's ever heard of manners. The archer's sidekick gets salty, but his leader shuts him down with a single arm wave. The protagonist grins and says that's the way to act if they want to keep breathing. Right then, a giant worm with 3 tongues and armor pops up behind the young dude. He wastes 0 time taking out the creature. Sho spins in the air like a ninja and attacks the monster from top to bottom, taking out the giant worm in 1 hit, and some hunters start realizing the new guy's not messing around. Then the protagonist looks at the crowd and says quality beats quantity, not that herd members would get it. Jin's already boiling with rage, the comment was clearly aimed at him. Nami, who seems to be the chillest leader, tells her guild that the new guy's got the right to be confident. Then the hunters tell the scavengers to get moving, but the protagonist's spidey sense is tingling. So the young dude yells for everyone to duck, finally spotting the source of the bad vibes. Coiling around a pillar is what looks like a mini-boss, a massive snake with holes all over, making the other monsters look like plushies. The serpent's eyes glow with a creepy red light. Then the monster starts circling the pillar and launches a barrage through its body holes. The snake's projectiles are so strong they wreck everything around. Those who can't defend themselves get swept away in a flash. One of the snake's missiles heads straight for Shin, who notices it too late, but the protagonist deflects it like a pro, saving the boy from becoming Snake Chow. And the projectile, with its path changed, pierces the dungeon floor, revealing a swirling red vortex. Sho stands in front of the vortex and says it's a screw sphere, revealing the mini-boss's attack. What they call the Magnus effect is when the direction of movement bends due to pressure differences as an object moves through a fluid. The dungeon got named Magnus's Cradle because of the monster's unique attack styles. On the battlefield, the snake's basically playing dodgeball with the hunters, and it's winning big time. Sho wonders if attacks like this are why the last exploration got cut short. The spheres coming at the protagonist just bounce off his basic sword, and the young dude notes that handling the snake's attacks so easily shows he's getting back his past life's battle instincts. But it's too soon to party. Sho tells the apprentice to hide because things are super sketchy, and the boy listens. Then our hero steps up to fix the mess. The protagonist decides to take out the machine gun snake before it causes more chaos, and slices the monster with precision, just below the neck, his go-to move by now. Then the apprentice comes to thank Sho for handling the big mess, but something unexpected happens. Jin Arakawa uses the chaos to put an axe to Shin's neck, taking the boy hostage. Sho sighs, annoyed he was too busy trying to take down the mini-boss fast, and thinks the dude must be nuts to pull a stunt like this in front of everyone. But around them, the hunters are losing it, battling each other. Some are totally bonkers, and those who aren't are grabbing talismans to deal with the chaos. The ones not fighting are busy capturing the hunters who are still having wild seizures. Meanwhile, the sane healers and mages are patching up those who got wrecked by the machine gun snake's attack. Sho peeps at the ground and spots that as the spheres chill out, they start spewing a mind-bending gas, but everyone's too caught up to notice. Then the protagonist turns to the coward and asks if he was just waiting for a chance like this. Jin says it's more of a fluke. He didn't expect something like Raymara here, but now he's got the perfect excuse to ditch the young dude. The big guy even has the nerve to say this is payback for making him look dumb, and tells Shu to drop his sword. If not, he'll make the head of the only other person in the young man's guild take a flight. A surprise psychic attack, a battlefield where no one knows who's friend or foe. Jin could use the chaos as an excuse, but this game is for two. Shu asks if the coward thought he could take him down like that, and the big guy asks if he's wrong, with a big grin plastered on his face. Then the protagonist fires back that, yep, the big guy's mistake was thinking only he could go nuts. So Shu uses a thread of mana to whisper directly into Shin's ear and says just one word: duck. The apprentice ducks instantly, shielding his neck with his hands. Arakawa watches, clueless about why the boy ducked right in front of him, and he still gets dragged along, confused, as Shu charges and slices the worm too fast for him to catch. Proof. When the poor guy's head hit the ground, it still had that same goofy grin. Shin jumps as the rest of the armored body almost topples onto him, and since the big guy was a certified heretic, our hero leveled up a few more times. Shu's rocking 135 mana points, not counting the passive boost of a martial arts master, making the ordinary sword better than a rank B item. Then the apprentice asks his big bro what they're gonna do with that guy there. It's kinda illegal, right? But our dude strolls over to the massive fallen body, and gives a few pats on the armor with his hand. Finally, the other two guild leaders of Group 3 find what's left of Arakawa and are shook. Then the protagonist explains that dodging the sphere meant getting hit by the psychic attack, and the madness of an S-rank hunter is terrifying, then asks what they think. As both quietly check out the body on the ground, Shu asks again what they think, and they realize they have no choice but to agree that the monster got the guy good, otherwise they too would be caught by the supposed monster. So they agree, right? Shu even cracks up at the two of them being scared stiff. Meanwhile, in Sora's private tent, the young woman is chilling, reading fanfic on the tablet, but an energy vibes into the tent, and she senses that a familiar aura is rolling in. Then the hunter steps out to greet the guy who always pops up whenever he wants. But the protagonist notices she was already expecting him. Sora says that obviously, he's the only one who'd roll in like that. Then the girl cuts to the chase and asks what went down, if some other hunter messed with him. Sho replies that he's already sorted out his beef with the other hunters. He's more curious about what Sora will do now that the teams have cleared the first floor. The young woman is miffed. He didn't even ask how she was. The protagonist explains that you can see that with your eyes. If she wasn't well, Squad 1 wouldn't have even returned. She sighs and replies that Squad 1 was no different from Squad 3, which also only managed to return because of Shu. Then Sora explains that now she's joining the elite hunter group and heading up to the second floor before the rest. Few can handle the next level. Shu gets thoughtful. The top-tier hunters know each other and their skills, so the cutoff score must be high. Then our hero asks the SS hunter to put in a good word for him. Sora replies that he's bold, and the protagonist says he thought they were already tight enough. But the girl cuts him off and tells him not to decide alone if they're close or not, especially since they've only met a few times. Then Shu rolls up and offers to teach her some next-level mana tricks in exchange, asking if it's a sweet deal or what. Sora steps back a bit, cause, you know, personal space and all, and then she yells in her classic tsundere style, telling him not to get any ideas, even if her recommendation is top-notch. The guildmaster calls the shots. The boy shrugs it off, saying her recommendation is all that matters. Sora spins around so he can't see her blushing, and says she doesn't need his sweet talk. She storms off, stomping like she's trying to make an earthquake, leaving our dude scratching his head, wondering what he did wrong. Sho decides to check out his loot after dealing with Arakawa before heading back to camp. He pops open the system and throws 10 more points into mana. Taking down the big guy, our hero unlocks his coolest feature, Berserk, which swaps a bit of sanity for a boost in all stats. Doesn't sound too shabby, but he can't think of a time he'd use it. But hey, a skill's a skill. Back at the temp camp at the second floor's entrance, healers are busy patching up the wounded from the last skirmish. Shin tells Sho that the machine gun snake hit Squad 1 too, but they were slow to react, and the damage spread. A few hours later, Junosuke leads the special squad to the second floor. Meanwhile, the rest hold the fort on the first. The apprentice asks the master how he scored a spot on the special squad. Shu just says he used his free pass, poor Sora. Before heading out, our guy tells Shin to hit up the Curse Guild if things go south. Since they know Sora Aoki, he'll be alright. Then the top-tier hunters start climbing the dungeon. Then, on the last step of the stairs, the action kicks off. Something crashes through the ceiling like a wrecking ball. At the front, Junosuke shields the crew from the surprise attack. Again, the hunters face a creature that attacks with the Magnus effect. But this time, the hunter doesn't wait for any surprises and smashes the sphere on the ground. One of the other tanks up front warns the group that these projectiles are way stronger than before. This time they're dodging a rain of bolt spheres, and the hunters under fire watch the trajectory like it's the world's scariest fireworks show. Each defends against the attacks as best they can. Sho notices the monsters seem super prepared, like they were expecting the squad. Then he senses some weird mana vibes from the front. The protagonist looks ahead and sees an army of alien ant soldiers, full of holes and ready to go all out. Way more enemies than expected, like 10 alien ants for each one to take down. And trust me, these creatures are not in a good mood. The alien ant army starts firing hundreds of spheres with the Magnus effect. Several hunters get hit, and it's like a game of dodgeball gone wrong. One of the tanks still standing grumbles that this must be a joke. These monsters are way tougher than the first floor ones. Another, practically training to be the best batter on the school baseball team, says the dungeon's rank is totally off. Junosuke sighs. Since they're on a one-way street, there's no turning back. Then, the guy's shield starts glowing gold. Might be a bit early for this, but no choice. The Curse Guild leader unleashes a skill called Unshakable Union, an area skill that wraps around the whole elite squad. The monsters get a bit blinded and even back off a little. Then the protagonist notices his HP and stamina are up, along with his resistance. And he wonders if that's Junosuke's skill at work. Meanwhile, the team's spirits are back, and they're ready even if the ant soldiers launch another spinning sphere barrage. One of the mages, totally buffed, raises a massive mana wall, and it's working like a charm. Then the same mage warns there's 30 seconds left before he can use the skill again, and the frontline guys say they'll handle it till then. The folks who got hit earlier are already getting help from support hunters. Shu is blown away by the high-level hunters' perfect teamwork and communication. Then one of those ugly creatures pops up from the ground behind the protagonist, and our guy doesn't even need to fully turn to take down the big ant, just gives it an upward slash and splits the creature in half. Now that they can't attack from a distance, the creatures switch up their strategy. For the protagonist, this is epic. His chance to battle the alien ant soldiers, and he charges forward, slicing the creatures one by one, until suddenly one of them screeches at him and extends its claws. Shu dodges to the side of the creature and sticks the sword into one of the many holes of the creature. Yikes. Immediately after, the dude unleashes the lethal poison skill he snagged from a bandit. The creature lets out a little scream of suffering, and another one is already creeping up from behind. Then, the protagonist extends his spare arm to the invasive monster, and uses the Hand of the End, a skill he swiped from another bandit. With that, both monsters let out a little scream and drop lifeless. A few meters away, some hunters are shook by what they're seeing. They thought Shu only got into the special squad because he was tight with Sora Aoki, but Solo, the protagonist, had already taken down more than 10 monsters without breaking a sweat. This was way more than just talent. Sometime later, the squad finally defeated the last alien ant soldier. The leadership shouts to everyone, announcing they will advance to the 3rd floor as soon as they finish cleaning up there. Sora approaches our guy and comments that he proved her recommendation was spot on. He responds curtly that it's just payback for giving him a free pass. The girl seems a bit awkward and stares at him for a moment. Then, Junosuke approaches her and says that Shu lives up to someone Sora would recommend. The girl agrees, somewhat awkwardly. Then, she comments to the superior that the 3rd floor seems even narrower than the 2nd. The man agrees, and theorizes that maybe the dungeon is like a pyramid. With that said, Sora concludes that maybe they'll finish the mission earlier than expected, and Junosuke warns the girl not to let her guard down, as narrow places can be a trap. Out of nowhere, the entire 2nd floor starts to shake, catching the two off guard. Sho seems more suspicious than scared, but the general vibe of the group is confusion. The shaking continues, and debris starts falling from the ceiling. With the whole place collapsing, someone shouts that this seems like the prelude to a fissure. Junosuke orders everyone to stop what they're doing and run to the 3rd floor. The last two on the stairs are Sora and Shu, until the girl notices that the guy isn't climbing. Then, she shouts his name to find out why he's standing there with everything falling apart, but the protagonist just glances at her and says he'll climb later. Then, he jumps and disappears from the girl's sight, and lands sitting on one of the many dead creatures lying around. Then, the dude starts talking to the wind, asking something or someone to hurry up because his patience is running out. A hooded guy slowly materializes, surprised that the dude noticed he was there. The butterfly mask reveals himself and tells the protagonist that he has excellent observation skills. Shu asks who this weirdo is who's been watching the group since they arrived on the 2nd floor, and the guy realizes he wasn't unnoticed at any point. The oddball starts clapping and says the protagonist is incredible. He didn't notice before, but now he sees that he uses mana enchantment. Our hero also takes a good look and sees that the hooded guy is also using mana enchantment, and unlike Shin, he is highly proficient. The butterfly continues talking and says the dude's enchantment seems far from perfect, and it doesn't seem to be because of a low level. It's a hard to describe feeling, and then he wonders who taught the dude. But Shu doesn't seem happy at all, and asks the weirdo if he really thought he would get an answer from him. The butterfly is just happy because he wouldn't want it any other way and starts manifesting a red energy. The energy reaches our dude and lifts his coat. The protagonist thinks about how this is a crushing wave of mana, but he's making it seem like just an annoying breeze. Then, the weirdo's eye glows and he says he's glad the dude isn't docile, as that would be super boring. Then, Shu prepares and asks the butterfly what his definition of interesting is. The weirdo says that's a good question and starts giving an example. By example he means accumulating an absurd amount of mana in his hand and expanding it into a ring the size of a portal. Something like that is interesting to him. Then, the butterfly concentrates everything and throws it at the protagonist like a laser beam. Fortunately, the dude was already quick and took a few steps to the side. Then, the hooded guy gets serious and says that the mana enchantment belongs to them. Whoever they are, I don't know either. But the butterfly promises not to forgive anyone who uses the technique. After the weirdo makes a trail on the ground and a tunnel in the wall, the protagonist asks if that's how he got rid of the others too. But the butterfly says he'll leave that to his imagination, although his life is about to end. Then the oddball opens his arms and expands the mana to freak out the protagonist with his fairy wings. Sho recognizes the wings instantly. This was a classic move of the long-eared and fairy races. This crazy dude definitely has ties to his past life. Then things get real, and the protagonist touches the bracelet of the infernal blade. He finally found a clue about his past life and won't let this guy slip away. The sword materializes, and Sho seems more than ready to hunt butterflies. But the sketchy villain tells the boy it's pointless trying to look cool now and conjures a fireball in his hand. Then he launches about 9 of those at the young man, and ends up wrecking everything except the protagonist. What a lousy aim, huh? Shu closes the gap and gears up to attack the fairy. As soon as the sword is a millimeter from torching the unfortunate one's cape, he says he'll never let a commoner's attack hit him and starts a strategic retreat. And the protagonist ends up smashing the little pillar where the fairy was. But the guy is already hurling more fireballs at the protagonist from another little pillar. Sho has the worst luck with villains because this one also won't zip it. Then the guy starts flying to keep tossing infinite explosives at the boy, but diagonally. But as always, Sho was just trying to spot a pattern in the enemy's attack before making a move. Our hero activates the skill he just picked up, Berserk, and charges at the fairy with everything he's got. Sho spins again in the air with the infernal blade. This time the boy gets even closer to hitting the enemy, even ripping off a piece of his mask, who manages to escape at the last second, dodging all the destruction the sword caused when it hit the ground. The protagonist figures out this guy is using a mix of siesta, the long-eared explosion technique, and Talon, the fairy flight technique. Yikes. Then the fairy, who probably got bullied a lot at school, gets super mad and yells at the boy to stop laughing at him while tossing about 20 more explosive spheres. Shu dodges again, and debris flies everywhere. The fairy admits the protagonist has at least the skill to face his attacks and starts charging a new strike, with several writings circling his wrists, and releases it forward like a literally hot pink sonic wave. So our hero decides he needs to take action against this attack. Each of the 8 races had its unique way of mana enchantment. For example, Talon was used by the fairy race, Siesta by the long-eared race, Rational by the ancient dragon race, and in the end, all 8 races had to share their vision through mana enchantment to complete a skill that would make the battle against the Overlord invasion possible. This is the peak and infrastructure of mana enchantment. Before, the protagonist couldn't use the power he had in his past life, but now with the mana he acquired, he can recreate it. Then the protagonist invokes the Exceed skill, and recovers that halo we saw at the beginning, creating such a thunderous flow of mana that it's hard to see the red of the infernal blade. The villain decides he doesn't want to be left behind and unleashes the ultimatum of the mana bombardment, Laser. And again, he destroys absolutely everything except the protagonist. Shu vanishes from the ground, faster than ever, getting super close to the fairy for the 3rd time. But this time, the guy gets nervous because he sees he won't be able to dodge, and already conjures a pink mana bubble to defend himself. The impact of the 2 mana enchantments meeting sinks them both into a shallow crater. Sho makes it clear to the fairy that he responded to his attack wrong. He should have dodged instead of trying to defend. And the butterfly with the broken mask and maybe half-deaf asks what he said. But this time, the protagonist responded with actions and burst his bubble, burying the bubble, the crazy guy, and the stones all together. Then the boy deactivates the little power to not waste mana unnecessarily and walks towards the crazy guy, hoping he's still alive. He takes advantage of the path to spit a little on the ground. wipes his mouth with the sleeve of his jacket, and as he approaches, he hears the fairy making sounds like someone who got run over. Well, it really looks like he got run over by a train. Then Shu's all, "Finally we can chat," to the fallen fairy. The fairy's like, "Whoa," showing off his little purple hair, and starts bombarding Shu with questions. What did you do? What's with the halo? Yada yada. Shu's had enough, so he slices off one of the fairy's arms with his sword to shut him up. The dude starts screaming, obviously, but Shu's like, "Zip it, I'm the one asking questions here." First up, Shu wants to know this unlucky guy's name. Instead of playing nice, the guy starts cursing. So Shu points his flaming sword at the dude's forehead, saying if he wants a painful end, just say the word. This gets the guy talking, and he says his name's Gaku Inamoto, but then he's like, "Oops, that's my made-up Japanese name," and says he's actually Kidea Norans. Shu's never heard of this dude in his past life, so he keeps digging. He asks why Norans is there and how he learned the mana enchantment, but the guy's lips are sealed. Shu's getting annoyed, raises his sword, and asks if Norans is deaf or something, but the way the guy shakes his head, it's clear that's not it. Shu figures out the guy's under some magical vow, stopping him from spilling the beans, so Shu tries the same test he did with the apprentice, saying words like Aslan, Idea, and Overlord, asking if the guy knows them, but nope, he's clueless. Shu's frustrated that this dude's using mana enchantments from other races without even knowing them. Anyway, next question, how did Norans find him? The guy says another dude found Shu by accident. Shu's like, who is this guy, and what was he doing? But again the guy's mouth moves, no sound. Another restriction, what a mess. Shu's done with this nonsense and brings the sword to Noran's neck. When the guy realizes he's toast, he panics and tries to bargain, offering Shu a spot in his club. But Shu's like, nah, I don't know your motives, but I'm not joining a bunch of assassins. Norans tries threats, saying stronger people from his place won't let it slide. Shu cuts him off, saying neither Norans nor his crew will beat him, and if they knew who he was, they'd stay far away. The guy's about to argue, but Shu literally cuts him off. That head flew so far, Shu's probably set a personal record, even took some ground with it. This heretic must have been up to no good, like kicking puppies or something, because Shu leveled up big time, and he got the mana bombardment ability, which Shu thinks is his only reward since the guy had 0 answers, but then the system pops up an extra window. One of Shu's abilities got an upgrade. His signature move, the Executioner, is now rank EX. Shu's like, whoa, because the highest rank known is SSS. Maybe if it goes beyond that, the system can't even show it right. And then, another earthquake hits this dungeon nightmare, but Shu realizes this one's different. This time, the dimension itself is breaking, and merging with the world the hunters call home. Shin comes running all, "Master, the fissures opened." Shu tells him to chill and asks where Sora Aoki is. And obviously, she's in the eye of the storm, making lightning rain everywhere. Then Shu sees the dungeon boss invading the world through the fissure. Not just him, but also some creatures that look like a gargoyle Satan mashup. There's one over there on the left that's totally bonkers. But the hunters quickly rally to stop the demons from invading the city. Then Shu tells the apprentice he's leaving those creatures to him, and as long as he sticks near the curse guild, he'll be good. The young man's like, huh? Where you going, big bro? Shu's all chill, saying he's going after the boss. Then he does that epic jump, leaving just the impact trail behind. When he gets there, it's raining giant bolt spheres everywhere, and in the center, there's this creature that looks more like part of the scenery. All the tanks can do is dodge those massive things. And these spheres? They're the size of a 6-burner stove. No wonder they say it's like a natural disaster. Many barely escape the end. And Zamontana just keeps spitting spheres non-stop. Even Sora's epic mana rays are only clearing a bit of the incoming chaos. This constant defense mode stops the hunter from doing anything else, making her wish the main character was there. As if he read her mind, the dude shows up right behind her. Sora's stoked to see he's okay, but the protagonist's all, "We can chat later. What's the sitch?" The hunter tells him the dungeon core's inside Zamontana. The guardians got 0 mobility or agility, but the constant attacks are keeping the hunters stuck. Then Shu's like, "So we just gotta beat that thing," and Sora's like, "Not that easy, only I've hit it so far." The young man gets it and says with both of them there, it's enough. Then the girl gets hyped and asks if he's got a plan, but Shu's all, "Just cut everything that can be cut." By now, Sora knows that's just his style, so she decides to clear the way for him to shine and charges like a war tank, and it seems Zamontana heard it all because he roars, showing teeth that'd make a great white shark jealous, and he throws more balls than a whole day at the Olympics. Sora charges her spear with high voltage, then zaps the projectiles in a chain, blowing them up all at once and making a temporary opening. Then she gets close to the dungeon boss, but when she's about 50 meters away, she stops and plants the spear into the ground. Charging it with electric mana again, she blasts it all at once, hitting Zamontana with a ray cannon, making the creature's tip look like a spoiled cucumber. The creature stops attacking for a bit, but there's a new problem. The core's in a different spot. Sora feels a slight push on the spear's tip, like a breeze or something, but it's the shadow of the young man's leap who loves jumping on spears to smash dungeon cores. Then he pumps all his points into mana, going from 145 to 180. When Shu reaches the boss, it's almost recovered the tip, but it's time to use his new skill, so he uses the sword's tip to launch a mana bombardment and drives Ashen's infernal blade into the creature. Then Zamontana crushes, explodes, and catches fire all at once. The pressure's so intense that the Guardian starts to implode. Its body destabilizes and changes shape, and Sho pierces deeper and deeper into the creature, which ends up exploding into a million pieces. As always, the protagonist levels up a bunch in the process. Shin checks his socials and sees public opinions now totally on the protagonist's side. Then the young man proudly says people are finally recognizing his big bro, and Sho reminds him that he doubted at first too. And the young boy gets all flustered and asks if the master still holds a grudge, but the young man's just teasing him. Then our hero tells the only guild member that they're gonna be busy finding new guild members. Shin's pumped. Finally more people. Meanwhile, at the House of Hats where stones float and people wear animal masks, the dragon announces the butterfly's dead, and all he did was talk too much. Then the lion asks if she's blaming him, and she, super chill, says it all started because the lion blew flames at the butterfly. The guy gets mad and slams his hand on the table, shouting all he did was mention to his allies that someone else learned the mana enchantment. Then the dragon hints he's pretending to be nice, but wanted to ditch a rival. The eagle agrees with the dragon, saying what happened to Butterfly was super sus. Even the snake agrees, saying it all went down because the lion's too hasty. So the lion's all mad, accusing everyone of ganging up on him, which is totally bogus, right? The eagle and dragon were against it, and the snake was just chilling, saying nada. Then boom, the vibe shifts big time. A purple aura swoops in, grabbing everyone's attention. The snake even straightens his suit, trying to look all slick. And then, Mr. Smooth Mask rolls in, already telling the lion he's got some juicy info. Out of nowhere, he warns the lion he messed up big time. The cat's got the guts to tell Mr. Smooth he's wrong, babbling about some mana enchantment monopoly nonsense. But Mr. Smooth is like, nah, I get it, bro. He tells the other masked dudes they're too hooked on mana enchantment. It's just one of their tricks, not their whole deal. Obviously, people would level up their skills, and even though the lion knew this, he stirred up drama that got one of his pals taken out. Then he asks the cat what he thinks, but the dude's just shaking in his boots. So the lion keeps trying to cover his tail, saying the butterfly volunteered, proving the target's just as strong. Mr. Smooth agrees on one thing, the hunter who did it is probably rank SSS. But still, he's just one dude, how could he be a threat to all of them? Then the lion admits the guy was strong, but not a threat to everyone. Then, out of nowhere, Mr. Smooth taps his cane and tells the lion this is his last shot. The cat's gotta own up and fix this mess. Until then, he's banned from crossing the Eva Gate. Then, flashback time to when the Queen's army wrecked Aslan. The 8 races fought hard, leaving only ruins behind. The spirit race sacrificed themselves in the first war. In the second, the dragon leader messed with the perpetual machine, sending dragons on a wild, crazy mission. Amidst all this, their god, Idea, was confirmed gone, making things even worse. But the drama doesn't stop. Thanks to some beastmen traitors, a third war was brewing. First thing Arden did was clean up the traitors. That's when he stopped being the sword god and became the executioner. Fast forward to the protagonist's new pill, the unpredictable flavor spectrum, boosting magic stats. He thinks his first try wasn't bad, pops it in his mouth. Then the system screen lights up with the news. He realizes he got a new title, Guillotine, probably because of his executioner skill, always chopping heads. His phone rings, snapping him out of it. Looks like something worked out quicker than he thought. He opens the door, telling Eri not to overdo it since she just got out of the hospital. But she says it was just a light jog, feeling better than ever after the mana allergy. Shu's thinking his spiritual pill worked wonders, but Eri cuts him off. There's gossip on YouTube about him and the SS Hunter. The video shows the final battle against Magnus's core guardian. People are buzzing since their little run-in at the Lunar Fissure, and Eri's already asking if she should call Sora sister or sister-in-law. But our hero's like, nah, it's just trash gossip, poor Sora. Eri's all smiles with the news. She asks what kind of girl he likes, bold move, and Sho says he likes the chill ones, then pieces out. Eri's gonna have to step up her game. Kaoru's messing with her phone, waiting with her parasol open. Our hero shows up with chocolate, teasing her about being in uniform on the weekend, and she says criminals don't take days off. So he hits up the woman, asking how her case wrapped up. The major's all, just like you said, dude, we found the item in the Hijitaka case. It's a bracelet called Cancelled, which is kinda funny cause it cancels out the blocker. But get this, the tech is like 10 years ahead of Japan's game. Shu's all, wait, are you saying another country's in on this? Kaoru's like, pretty sure, and I've got 3 main suspects. First up, Professor Boris, who's got a rep for some sketchy experiments. Then there's Professor Chan Wen, a businessman with major backing from his country. And finally, Professor Steve, who's basically a ghost, just buried in his research. The protagonist's all, So we got a mad scientist, a shady businessman, and a research hermit. Out of nowhere, Sho slams his toddy down and asks the major to dig up dirt on some dude named Gaku Inamoto. She's like, I'm not a private eye. But then he's all, nah, Kaoru, you're better than a detective, and you can pay me back whenever. And she's just like, fine, I owe this kid anyway. Next day, Shin's losing it in the new Overlord office, cause everyone got rejected again. The apprentice is like, dude, maybe you're being too picky, chill a bit? But Shu's not having it, he only wants the best in his squad. The poor guy's like, man, I didn't sign up for a two-man guild. Back in my day, it was easier. Sho knows why he picked him. The kid's got mad skills with mana enchantment, but he keeps it on the down low so the kid doesn't get a big head. Someone knocks and they both look up from their tablets. The guy's like, is there anyone left for interviews? But Shin's pretty sure they're done. Outside, there's this super pretty girl, and Shin's already enchanted. But Shu's like, whatever, interview time's over. The girl's like, I know, that's why I'm here now. She's Mitchell Rochelin, a hunter from the US Global Admin, and hands over her card. But our hero's like, nah, not interested, and tries to ghost her with his hood up, leaving her stunned. Before he bails, she's like, wait, I'm not here to recruit you. I'm offering hunters for your guild. Sho stops, curious, so she's pitching American hunters. He figures she did her homework, but doubts hunters would move countries for a new guild. Mitchell's like, the world's going global, people want to face new challenges or invest. Plus, the super rookie Kiritani's guild is all the rage. True, recruiting foreigners isn't against the rules. One name jumps out, an S-rank healer who can also deal damage if needed. The blonde's like, yeah, that's Finn Chandra, who became a hunter after curing mana allergy. Shu thought there were loads of healers on the list, but it makes sense Mitchell knew what his guild needed. She even brought up the mana allergy. The protagonist's impressed with her skills and asks to set up an interview with Finn, but the blonde's like, no need. The guy's confused, like, what do you mean? She explains, the attacking healer's already here in Japan with me. Sho introduces himself to the potential new guild member. Across the table, Finn Chandra looks like a rich kid. Shin's like, I vote yes, but everyone else uses neutral pronouns, so who knows? Shu asks Finn why the guild hopping, and Finn's like, I was outgrowing my old guild, needed something better. Sho's like, confident, huh? But I bet there's more to it. Then he points to Finn's left shoulder, asking if it hurts. Finn gets nervous, and Sho lists the symptoms. Bad pain, gets worse as you level up. Seems Sho remembers someone from his past with the same issue, so he figures Finn can't heal with abilities or find a fix. So this kid asks Sho if he knows how to fix his problem, and Shu's all, yeah, I got this. Turns out, the reason for Finn's pain is super obvious, like he's got way too much mana zooming around in his body right now. As a healer, Finn should have figured this out, but he came to Japan still clueless, which is kinda desperate, right? Then Finn's like, I get it, I'll join the Overlord, but Sho hasn't even said he's in yet. And Shu's like, hold up, interview's not done. And everyone in the room's like, what? Shu stands up, all dramatic, and says it's time for the practical test. Down in the Overlord Guild's basement, Mitchell's like, Finn, you sure about this fight? Kiritani's a close-range fighter and you're a healer. Plus, Finn's still got this mystery condition, and as an agent, she's worried. But Finn's all ready with his scythe hammer, telling Mitchell not to stress and thanks her for the guild hookup. Sho Kiritani seems like a dude who keeps his promises. And Finn hasn't even signed a contract yet. Then the healer's like, you sure about that tiny sword? And the young man's like, no worries, this'll be quick. Finn copies Shu's jump, leaving a crack in the ground. All epic. The young man goes for an open attack with the hammer side of the scythe, and our hero doesn't even flinch. First attack, the protagonist just dodges with a little torso twist. Then he drops his dollar store sword on the ground like, whatever. Finn takes the bait, distracted by the move. Sho grabs the kid by his fancy shirt collar, and Finn's all tense, squinting his eyes. Shu tosses the rich kid like a sack of potatoes. Finn bounces off the ground, hits the wall, and makes a mini crater. His link's babbling nonsense like, never heard of a skill like that, but the protagonist's like, just gave him a little push. Rich kid's mad, busts out SS Super Regeneration. Then he charges, feeling like he hit the jackpot. Finn's hammer comes down like a meteor, but Sho's chill, doesn't move. When the hammer's about to hit, the young man dodges, and it's like a bomb went off. Protagonist's like, you trying to hit a giant boss or something? Finn's probably got this habit from high-level dungeons. Shu sees an opening, kicks the boy, who blocks with the scythe handle. But when the kick lands, Finn's quick, conjures a mana shield. Nice reflexes. But the shield leaves his legs open, so the young man trips him. Before Finn hits the ground, the protagonist's already throwing a punch. Finn tries to block with the mana barrier, but still gets hit. Healer's hammer glows with overheal ability, like, this lasts in a battle, right? Finn explodes while healing, Sho blocks with his arms. Protagonist checks his arm, and it's like, Skibidi just gave me cancer, thanks. Finn's like, stop being cocky, or you'll regret it. cause that cancer's spreading. Healer uses overheal again. Scythe glows. This time, Sho gets thyroid cancer as a bonus. Protagonists like, if Finn can give cancer, he can heal too. So the young man removes the cancer before needing chemo. Finn's shocked. Protagonist just made the rumors vanish, and he doesn't even have healing powers. Shu jumps on Finn, saying it's the coolest thing he's seen, but still just an ability. Back in the office, Rich Kid's like, I got wrecked. He figures Shu's method to remove tumors is what Finn needs to fix his pain. Protagonist tells the young man, he's got good instincts and likes his strength, so they're good to sign the contract. And Finn's stoked. But when the agent grabs the contract, she totally freaks out. Why doesn't the guild own up to info leaks and has a 10-year contract minimum? Total tyranny, right? But to the agent's horror, Finn's all, the pain treatment's worth it, and signs off like a boss. Now Overlord's got 3 members, woohoo! The main dude asks the healer if he can call him by his first name, and the boys totally chill with it. Shin rolls in all happy, saying Finn can call him Oni-chan if he wants, but the healer's like, nah, cut the nonsense, I'm a dude. And boom, mystery solved. The apprentice's heart's in pieces. Shin thought Finn was a girl. Oops. Then the tank's like, is she shy cause it's all dudes here? Finn's like, zip it, call me a girl again, and you're toast. While the other two are about to throw hands over gender, Shu's just happy his guild's got a solid combat crew now. Meanwhile, at the Japanese Hunters HQ, someone asks if the rumors are true. Malkito Oda, Wakamatsu's buddy and the matter blocker inventor, confirms the monstrosity's hitting Shizuoka in a week. The association's prez is like, gotta call the guildmasters again, no choice. Finn's pumped. Just by using mana right, he's pain-free. Shows like, people rely too much on skills, and Finn's like, Professor Steve's onto something similar. That grabs the young guy's attention. The major mentioned the scientist not long ago. Finn confirms, saying the research will boost status effectiveness. The main dude remembers Steve as a suspect. Soon he'll crack mana enchantment, but no one's finding out about Exceed. Shu sighs. Mana flow training's done. Time for battle training. Amidst palm trees, Finn's yelling at Shin to fight right and face the creature head on. The apprentice, rocking 2 spears instead of a shield, says he's got it, while the big creature's coming in hot. The tank plants the spears in an X, activating a skill called the Principle of Duality, blocking the creature. Shu notes the apprentice has got the new skill down. Nice. After disarming the monster, Shin chucks a spear. The creature lets out a cute squeal and flies away. But another identical creature shows up and chomps on Shin's left arm, catching him off guard. Finn heals the boy, even though it's gross. And the arm that should be limp is good as new. Apprentice number 1 thanks for the backup, ready to roll again. He kicks the creature that bit him, and it bites its own tongue. Meanwhile, Finn flanks to finish the job, then attacks once, slicing the monster and everything in its path in 2. Shin's like, nice support, even when attacking. But Finn's like, quit messing around and make fewer mistakes. The apprentice denies any mistakes, and Finn's like, next time, no healing, leaving Shin crushed. Meanwhile, our hero's just watching the battle. A-rank dungeons need mad prep, but the guild's teamwork makes up for it, so training's paying off. Finn tells the guildmaster all monsters are down, but something's off with the dungeon. Sho's curious. The healer explains A-rank dungeons in the US didn't have creatures this strong, thanks to the monstrosity. Shin's like, what's this monstrosity? Finn spills, it was an event 12 years after the first fissure in America, asking about Japan's last one. The apprentice counts on his fingers. About 13 years, almost 12. To top it off, Jin heard Japan's got more fissures than usual. Maybe a silent disaster's coming. Shows deep in thought, wondering what this monstrosity is. Later, the young dude's home. Eri, who lives with him and acts like his wife, asks what he wants for dinner. The protagonist's feeling a bit awkward, wondering if it's too early for dinner. Then the girl switches it up and mentions he's got a visitor. Shu's super confused, thinking, visitor? What visitor? He doesn't even have friends. In the corner, Sora Aoki's chilling, sipping tea, and she's there because the dude didn't keep his promise. Eri tells Sorina and Sho to chat it up while she whips up dinner. The hunter's grateful, totally charmed by her. The protagonist's curious about when they became pals, then sits and admits he didn't know she was so social. The girl's annoyed, saying they're the same age, and unlike him, her sis has a killer personality. The dude spills they're not real siblings. Sora's shocked, almost spills her tea. Shu explains Eri's a relative of a scavenger buddy who passed away on the job. The girl's surprised, thinking it's wild he's so kind-hearted. But enough chit-chat, Sora shows off some sparks from her hand. Out of nowhere, she's zapping the tea, showing off her mana skills. The protagonist notices she nailed the second lesson. Sora says she got it after Magnus's mission, and it's wild she didn't know before. Shu claps, saying she's not the top in the country for nothing. She's embarrassed, tells him to quit teasing and keep his promise. The protagonist hands her a little notebook, saying it'll level her up. Turns out, it's just basic stuff, not even close to mana enchantment. Sora looks a bit doubtful at the notebook. She hands it back, saying she prefers learning in real battles. Our hero's cool with it, mentioning he's got a training room now. Sora agrees and says she's heading out, but when she stands, she checks her phone and looks shocked. The protagonist asks what's up with her. She shows him the phone, buzzing with news about some monster. Sho checks it out, surprised, expecting it, but not this soon. It's heading to Shizuoka. Sora dashes off, saying she's off to her guild, tells him she'll see him in Shizuoka, and waves to Eri, the protagonist already calling the apprentice. Shin's sprinting through the streets, saying he's heading to the guild base. He asks if the protagonist saw the notifications. The young man confirms, especially since he, as guildmaster, got an emergency call. Sho tells the boy he's heading to Shizuoka, but to gear up and wait with Finn. Our video ends here. If you liked it, leave your like. See you next time. Bye bye.